Chapter 921. Every warship and chariot was dozens of meters long. There were white swans, giant eagles, red-crowned cranes, and other spiritual birds pulling the chariots. Some of them were even inscribed with ancient and profound runes. They relied on the dazzling splendor and aura they emitted to advance rapidly. The largest bronze chariot was the Desolate Edge. It was several hundred meters long and emitted an ancient brilliance. It was pulled by more than 10 flying beasts with huge wings, which looked like pterosaurs and were covered in green scales. Its aura was even more shocking. This bronze chariot was embedded with many crystals. The runes carved on the chariot were flowing endlessly, emitting a huge amount of Tao energy. Not only could it fly, it could also withstand and defend against attacks. On the Desolate Edge chariot, blood chi surged and its aura was like a rainbow. The majesty of a city lord poured down in torrents, violent and domineering without reservation. It was like a primordial beast descending from the sky, causing one's heart to palpitate. It instantly alarmed the entire Demon Cave Mountain. Is this the army of Desolate Edge City? What a powerful aura! Jiang Yunhe, the Qiao siblings, and the smelly monkey all looked up with fear. Their faces were as pale as a sheet of paper. Haha, it's just a pile of scrap metal. What's the big deal? Jiang Tian despised. When the chariot arrived within 10 miles of Jadewell Peak, the tens of thousands of cultivators and martial artists on the bronze chariot, warship, and cloud tower suddenly slammed the deck with the hilts of their weapons and shouted in unison. Their voices were like waves, and their auras were like dragons soaring into the sky, causing half of Demon Cave Mountain to tremble. Suddenly, the entire Jadewell Peak trembled slightly, emitting creaking sounds as if it was about to collapse. Many of the martial artists and cultivators inside were shaken to the point that their ears were ringing. Their chi and blood were surging, and they were terrified. Suddenly, clang clang. The entire Jadewell Peak resounded with the sound of golden gongs and bells, warning the crowd that a powerful enemy was attacking. However, the ancient chariots did not immediately attack Jadewell Peak. Instead, they floated around Jadewell Peak like an inescapable net, trapping Jadewell Peak. Soon, the hall masters, protectors, and elders of Jadewell Peak walked out one after another. Even the other main peaks were alarmed. Peak masters rushed over one after another. When Jiang Haishan arrived on his flying sword and saw the flag with the word Desolate on it fluttering in the wind, his face suddenly darkened and his heart skipped a beat. Today the entire Desolate City has come out in full force. Fang Jingqiang is actually leading the troops himself. That's too fast. There were only a few days left until the news was sent out, but an army of 10,000 arrived. Kong Teichu doesn't have the time to recover his cultivation and improve his combat strength. He will definitely die in this battle. Yes. Fortunately, we managed to escape in time. Otherwise, we would be the ones to suffer today. I'm afraid that Kong Teichu has already run away after hearing the news. How would he dare to accept the challenge? Some of the other peak masters' expressions changed drastically in disbelief, while others were gloating and watching from the sidelines. They looked at Jadewell Peak with mocking expressions. Desolate border city, compared to the other 3 giant cities, even though it wasn't the most prosperous city, because it had to resist the beast tide and kill the bandits of Desolate Border. It was one of the cities with the greatest fighting strength. Legend has it that Fang Jingqiang was a peak master of a huge ridge on Demon Cave Mountain. He made a living by robbing and was as ferocious as a demon, killing countless people. By chance, he obtained an inheritance from an ancient battlefield in Demon Cave Mountain. Since then his cultivation soared to mid-stage pseudo-core, and he was not far from a true golden core. In the past, his combat strength was unparalleled, and he slaughtered his way through hundreds of kilometers, suppressing half of Demon Cave Mountain. His reputation was so great that even peerless experts would shudder at the sight of him and retreat to show their respect. He nearly unified Demon Cave Mountain. However, he was recruited by Li Longyuan and was conferred the title of an unnamed disciple, becoming the city lord of Desolate City. Not only was Fang Jingqiang a pseudo-core expert, but he also cultivated an ancient inheritance that was unique and violent. He was only a step away from many sect masters. There were even rumors that he possessed a secret technique that could summon a demon god from another world. This demon god was incomparably powerful, and did not even fear golden core experts. The bronze chariot, warship, and cloud tower were also excavated by him from the ancient battlefield in the depths of Demon Cave Mountain. Their origins were mysterious, and it was said that they might have been written by ancient gods. After tens of thousands of years, they were still mighty and their surging magic power had not diminished at all. They could withstand the continuous attacks of golden core experts, and were terrifying to the extreme. Because Fang Jingqiang was born a bandit in Demon Cave Mountain, and had once joined forces with Jiang Haishan to resist the beast stampede, their relationship was quite good. Before this, many people who did not know the truth thought that Fang Jingqiang was likely to watch from the sidelines and even secretly help Jiang Haishan. Who would have thought that he would be the first to arrive? How could everyone not be shocked and not be surprised? The news of Desolate City sending troops to Jadewell Peak caused quite a commotion. Many leaders and elites of the famous sects rushed to the scene as fast as lightning, or craned their necks to watch and pay close attention. Demon Cave Mountain is already in a state of disunity. It's over. A wise person who was watching from the sidelines said decisively after understanding the details. Initially, Jiang Haishan had the intention of unifying Demon Cave Mountain. However, Kong Taichu came and messed everything up. That's right. An expert agreed. I heard that Kong Taichu first killed the son of a peak master, and crippled Chu Yonghui's cultivation, taking over his place. The 7 main peaks were already disunited to begin with. How could they withstand such torment? If Kong Taichu was smart, he would have softened his stance and won over the majority. However, he was too arrogant and caused everyone to betray him. If I'm not wrong, Jiang Haishan is probably the only one who supports him. A veteran legendary figure waved his folding fan gently, as if he was holding a pearl of wisdom. I heard that there used to be cities and sects supporting Demon Cave Mountain, but they've all withdrawn now. I heard that Kong Taichu is only at the 2nd level of the foundation establishment level. He only relied on pills to increase his cultivation. Someone mocked. How can he last like that? It's unsustainable and will cause endless harm. Look at him now. He doesn't even dare to come out. Only Jiang Haishan is cleaning up his mess. What a joke. Yeah, so what if he's the most powerful person on Earth? He's just an ant. How dare he be so arrogant in the heavenly star small world? He must be tired of living. Many people stood aside with disdain and mockery on their faces. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was like a clown wearing a monkey's hat. In front of Jadewell Peak, finally, under the escort of several masters, Jiang Haishan took a step forward, cupped his fists and said in a humble tone, "City Lord Fang, why did you suddenly visit our Demon Cave Mountain? Why didn't you inform this brother, so this brother could have prepared some wine and waited for you?" At this time he was only standing on a flying sword. Compared to the giant war chariot, he was like a weak leaf. There was no reply from the war chariot for a long time. The entire sky was dead silent. Many cultivators and soldiers remained silent. Their serious faces were full of murderous intent, and the atmosphere was extremely tense. This kind of pressure was unbearable. Many of the murderers on the Jadewell Peak were frightened at the moment. Their faces were pale and cold sweat was running down their backs. After a full minute, then, dong, the sound of footsteps that shook people's hearts like a yellow bell rang out. Fang Jingqiang stood up and walked over step by step. He wore a bronze armor inscribed with profound patterns and a golden helmet on his head. Phoenix feathers that shot up to the sky swayed in the wind. He had a leopard head with round eyes and an ominous glint in his eyes. He was extraordinarily mighty and imposing. He carried a huge mace, and his tall and sturdy body was like a golden mountain or jade pillar. His surging blood-colored true essence was unrestrained, like a huge wave that soared into the sky, breaking through the clouds in the sky. He was like an ancient beast that could devour people at any time, exuding a terrifying aura. There seemed to be a strong smell of blood in the air, which made people's legs go soft. After all, he was not only a fake core overlord and the city lord of a giant city, but also a peerless villain who had once suppressed Demon Cave Mountain. Even though he had been in a high position for decades, he still couldn't hide his bloodthirsty aura. Brother Haishan, I'm not here to attack Demon Cave Mountain. I'm here to kill Kong Taichu. Fang Jingqiang's aura was monstrous. and his voice was like rolling thunder, shaking the void and shattering the clouds. He coldly said, "As long as you retreat quickly, you and I have worked together to resist the beast tide. Even if you raise the flag of rebellion, I will let bygones be bygones. I will even plead for you in front of Master. If you are willing to join my border army to kill Kong Taechu, not only will you not be punished, you will also be rewarded. You will be supported by my border city and rewarded by the Heavenly Star Palace. Isn't that wonderful?" As soon as these words came out, many people were surprised and shocked. It was rumored that Fang Jingqiang was not literate and was cruel and violent, but now it seemed that this was not the case at all. His words not only showed his tough attitude towards Jiang Tian, but also clarified the conflict between Kong Taechu and Demon Cave Mountain, dividing the Demon Cave Mountain camp and completely isolating Kong Taechu. It could be said that he was using both the carrot and the stick, mixing reason and emotion, advancing and retreating in a calculated manner. But on second thought, it was not strange. Fang Jingqiang was able to dominate a region, intimidate the border city, and was deeply trusted by Li Longyuan. How could he be a simple-minded person? Fang Jingqiang's words came out. The peak masters looked at each other, and Wu Xiufeng immediately walked into the border army camp and shouted, "Kong Taechu once killed my beloved son. My peak and Kong Taechu are irreconcilable. We are willing to submit to border city and kill Kong Taechu together." Soon after, the peak masters, mountain masters, cave masters, and heroic warriors successively expressed their stance, leading the crowd of heroes to clearly state their stance and follow Wu Xiufeng into the border city camp. With this, the situation took a turn for the worse. Among the 7 main peaks of Demon Cave Mountain, only Jiang Tian's faction was left supporting Jiang Tian. In the border army camp, Wu Xiuda looked around and laughed complacently. Kong Taechu has repeatedly stirred up a storm of blood and lost the support of the people. Today everyone has betrayed him. This is really retribution. Serves him right. Serves him right. He shouted haughtily. "Jiang Haishan, are you still obsessed with going about things the wrong way? I advise you to abandon the darkness and join the light as soon as possible. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your life. Kong Taechu, are you finally afraid? Where are you hiding? Hurry up and come out to die. Come, let me see what kind of monstrous ability you have to be our enemy." Chapter 922. Jiang Haishan's face was pale and cold sweat was dripping from his forehead. He then smiled bitterly. Kong Taechu did come to Demon Cave Mountain, but he went to travel 3 days ago. He's not here at all. He knew that he was no match for the army, so he could only stall for time. When Jiang Tian heard the news, he would probably run away immediately. He would not underestimate Jiang Tian because of this. At this time, there was a huge gap between the strong and the weak. He could not be reckless, but he had to be rational and preserve his strength. As the saying goes, a single spark can start a prairie fire. As long as the fire was still there, Jiang Tian was talented and cultivated hard for 10 years. He still had a chance to turn the tables. Haha, it seems that Kong Taechu is not a fool. He knew that he was no match for City Lord Fang, so he ran away. Since he's not a fool, why did he come to Heavenly Star Small World? Now his reputation has been destroyed. He probably became smart after coming to Heavenly Star Small World. He must have been a fool before. As soon as these words were said, the crowd laughed in disdain, and many cultivators showed sarcastic expressions. Don't you know what is in the light, and what is in the dark? Before he finished speaking, Chao Meng, a 9th-level foundation establishment elder of Jin Songfeng, had already stepped forward angrily. Li Longyuan made the lives of the entire Heavenly Star Small World worthless, and the people are living in poverty. You're shameless to the extreme and you're not worthy to be his lackeys. Tisk, little Fang, don't be so arrogant. Your father was a famous hero who killed corrupt officials and suppressed tyrants. I'm not as shameless as you, working for a tyrant. I'll kill you. He stepped on his flying sword and instantly broke the sound barrier. He turned into a black stream of light and rushed toward the ancient warship. Fang Jingqiang glanced at him disdainfully and snorted coldly. A mere foundation establishment stage, and dares to provoke this city lord. Die. Before he finished speaking, He raised his hand and grabbed at Chao Meng. Boom! A gigantic palm that was about 100 meters long appeared out of nowhere. It was overflowing with blood and qi, and there were skeletons floating within it. The mournful howls and screams of the skeletons could be heard for dozens of miles, making people's hair stand on end. The bloody palm blotted out the sky and came down. It was unknown how many cultivators it had devoured in the past. Blood-transforming mantis sovereign palm. The most powerful demonic art. Many people's expressions changed drastically when they saw this, and they cried out in alarm. This was an ancient scroll that Fang Jingqiang had found in the ruins of the Demon Cave Mountain's ancient battlefield. Previously, it had killed countless experts and possessed terrifying might. Break! Elder Chao Meng was enraged. He slapped the back of his head and spat out a short sword. Tens of thousands of cold lights burst out from the short sword. Amidst the clanging sounds, it transformed into a huge sword about 10 meters long and slashed towards the huge palm. Bang! Although this elder had used his lifetime's ultimate skill, he was still no match for Fang Jingqiang's strike. The sword instantly shattered, and he was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. All the bones in his body were broken, and he spat out blood. This elder used to be the sect master of a small sect that rebelled against the Heavenly Star Palace. After his sect was destroyed, he fled to the Demon Cave Mountain, and was protected by Jiang Haishan. He was one of the top experts of the Golden Pine Peak, and was not far from Jiang Haishan. Aunt, you want to challenge this city lord? You're simply courting death. Fang Jingqiang sneered with a disdainful expression. The elder summoned his flying sword and barely stabilized his body. His battle intent surged as he roared. Even if I die, I'll still fight you. As you wish. Fang Jingqiang's eyes were cold as he raised his hand and pointed. Pa! With a bang, a blood rainbow pierced through the sky and pierced through the elder's head in the blink of an eye. Heavenly execution Li Longyuan. He's a tyrant and a demon who whipped the heroes and plundered the world. I won't let him go even if I become a ghost. If the people don't fear death, why should they fear death? Elder Chao Meng's body suddenly stiffened. He was restrained by the blood qi, but he was fearless. He ignored the blood light and scanned the crowd as he shouted with all his might. Everyone knew that in just 1 second, this elder's head would explode and his body would turn into a rain of sparkling flesh that would no longer exist in this world. The entire place was deathly silent. Many people stood there in a daze, their hearts filled with mixed feelings. Of all the experts present, even those from the border cities, which one had not been bullied and humiliated by the Heavenly Star Palace and Li Longyuan? Of all the sects and factions in the world, which one had not had a few people killed by Li Longyuan and his henchmen? However, most people were afraid of death. Those who knew that they were no match but still dared to fight, and those who dared to sacrifice their lives for justice, were in the minority. A bad life was better than a good death. Most people chose to be slaves or servants, even if they lived like pigs or dogs, but they still did not dare to resist. Jiang Haishan's face was sorrowful as he closed his eyes, unable to bear to watch the tragic scene that would follow. Haha, this is the result of resisting the Heavenly Star Palace, and provoking the Lord of the Border Cities. Ignorant of the times. In the crowd, only Wuxia gritted his teeth and laughed. But suddenly, a flying sword, like a green flowing light, soared through the air and cut the blood rainbow in half with a swoosh. Bang! The blood rainbow exploded uncontrollably, dyeing the sky in a radius of a few miles red. It was shocking. What a sharp flying sword. Who can break Fang Jingqiang's blood-transforming mantis emperor's blood rainbow? Wuxia's laughter came to an abrupt stop as he revealed a stunned expression. The entire place was filled with exclamations. Many people clicked their tongues in wonder, shocked and stunned as if they had seen a ghost. Even Fang Jingqiang revealed a somewhat serious and surprised expression. His bell-like eyes swept the surroundings, shooting out a frightening cold light. Swish! Almost in the blink of an eye, in front of the huge warship, a figure like the sun broke free from the sea and rose slowly. Jiang Tian, dressed in white, with his black hair fluttering like a waterfall, ascended to the sky, emitted thousands of golden lights, and faced Fang Jingqiang directly. Kang Teichu didn't run away. Wuxia was full of disbelief. and then his face was full of ridicule. Humph, you don't know what's good for you. He is Kong Teichu, the strongest person on earth who killed the Qingxian sect disciple. It's him who killed the blue-eyed toad. He dares to come out and fight? He's courting death. At this moment, many people looked up with complicated emotions in their eyes. They were shocked and surprised. The army of the border city was pressing on the border, and the battle formation was earth-shattering. When Jiang Tian heard the news, he should have avoided the sharp edge, fled, and hid. It was extremely difficult for an ant from Earth to overthrow the Tianqing Palace, but he was killed by the enemy with a raise of his hand. The terrain of the Demon Cave Mountain was complicated, with thousands of mountains and thousands of peaks. The caves were like ant nests. If he hid, he could preserve his strength. That's great. He's come out. He's finally going to die. Only Wu Xiuda, Chu Yunxiu, Chu Yonghui and the others were gloating. Jiang Tian looked calm. He stood in front of Jiang Haishan and the others and said, "Send Elder Chao back to heal. You're no match for him. I'll fight with them." In the crowd of spectators, Goddess Miao Yi covered her face with a white veil, and her eyes were full of sorrow and regret. Kong Teichu, why are you so arrogant and don't know when to stop? The fight for the Great Tao needed to be like a 100-foot pole. It needed to be like water droplets piercing through stone, slowly and cautiously. The path of cultivation is a competition of talent, perseverance, and perseverance. In another 100 years, you might be able to catch up to Li Longyuan. But now, you're still young and your foundation is shallow. It's too unwise to fight head-on. She suddenly tore off her veil and stepped forward on her sword. She smiled and said, "I'm Miao Yi, a disciple of Goddess Miaoyu from the Heartless sect. Greetings, City Lord Fong." Whoosh! The moment she revealed her true appearance, the thousands of spectators and tens of thousands of soldiers were all shaken, and they all gasped in amazement. Goddess Miao Yi, a top overlord on the prodigy roll, and the eldest disciple of the Heartless sect. She's so beautiful. She's otherworldly and incomparably beautiful. Watching her is like drinking heavenly wine. This woman was like a snow lotus on the heavenly mountain. She was as pure as ice and as beautiful as jade. She exuded a celestial aura that could shake people's hearts and make them want to only watch her from afar. Why did this little vixen come out? Is she trying to seduce my husband? Even Hongyu, who was famous for her beauty, felt somewhat jealous and ashamed of her inferiority when she saw her on the warship. "Why are you looking for me?" Fang Jingqiang looked at Miao Yi and shook his head. Her breasts were too small and not sexy enough. Under everyone's gaze, Goddess Miao Yi came to the front of the warship. She cupped her fists at Fang Jingqiang and said respectfully, "City Lord Fang, this immortal Zhennin saved my life at the Blackwater Lake. My sect owes him a great debt." It was true that Jiang Tian had saved her, but it would be an exaggeration to say that he was a great debt to the Heartless sect. However, she was still too far away from a city lord like Fang Jingqiang. She could only use the name of Fang Jingqiang. She begged, "City Lord Fang, can you give the Heartless sect some face and stop the war? Let Kong Teichu go this time. The Heartless sect will definitely repay you." "Kong Teichu, so you rely on women? You're living off women." Fang Jingqiang shook his head and ignored her. He stared at Jiang Tian with a sneer. This girl was too naive. It was not as simple as me wanting to kill Kong Teichu. It was Li Longyuan who wanted him dead. In this world, who would dare to challenge Li Longyuan's authority, let alone an ant from Earth? Not to mention he had killed his son. Even if your master, Priestess Desireless, interceded, there would be no room for negotiation. "I have never relied on women. I'm here today to fight you." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Instantly, Goddess Miao Yi's face turned pale. She sent a voice transmission to Fang Jingqiang almost pleading, "Kong Teichu, I'm begging you. Just run." Fang Jingqiang is not someone you can afford to offend. Li Longyuan is not someone you can afford to offend. Fang Jingqiang was not just a fake core cultivator. What was even more terrifying was that he had obtained some ancient Dharma artifacts from the mysterious ruins. They could even be used by perfected immortals or fiend celestials. They could be considered immortal artifacts. In terms of cultivation, you're only at the early stage of foundation establishment. The difference between you and others is huge. In terms of foundation, he has the inheritance of an exalted immortal supreme treasure, and the technique to summon fiend celestials. How can you be his match? Jiang Tian did not reply. On the bronze warship, Li Hongyu took a few steps forward to the side of the ship. She stood with her arms akimbo and her brows furrowed. She pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded. Kong Teichu, you ant! How dare you kill my brother Li Liang? You don't know what's good for you. Today I'll tear you into pieces. Miaoyi, get back here. Our desolate border city will not give face to anyone. Chapter 923. Women shouldn't interrupt when men are fighting. Get lost. Jiang Tian said calmly. Boom. A monstrous aura spread out in all directions, and Fairy Miaoyi was instantly pushed hundreds of meters away. Li Hongyu's face was pale from the shock. She staggered a few steps back and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Fairy Miaoyi's face turned red, and tears rolled down her cheeks. She felt wronged, disappointed, and angry. Today, she could be said to have forsaken her pride to plead for mercy for Jiang Tian. When the news reached the sect, she would even be heavily reprimanded by her master. However, all she got in return was a cold "get lost." Jiang Tian smiled faintly, looked at Fang Jingqiang with disdain, and said, You dog, this Jadewell Peak is my Jiang Taichu's territory. Who allowed you to bring a group of puppies here and bark wildly? Kowtow and admit your mistake. Boom. Everyone was shocked by Jiang Tian's words. This Kong Teichu was too arrogant. He really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He actually called Fang Jingqiang a dog. He called the Desolate Border Army dogs. The Desolate Border Army was full of brave and ruthless people. How could they be humiliated like this? Beside the Willow Shade River. It's over now. They're definitely going to fight. The Qiao siblings and the Stinky Monkey looked worried as if they were facing a great enemy. However, they could only be anxious. In a battle of this level, they couldn't help at all. They would be cannon fodder. Cannon fodder. Yi Tianren looked calm, and even sympathized with Fang Jingqiang. I'm going to find a chance to eat him. This guy's meat is so tough. It should be similar to yak meat. The large black dog was very excited. He grabbed a pack of spicy strips and chewed. Saliva flowed from his mouth, and his eyes were full of anticipation. Chu Yunxiu laughed happily. Haha, the Desolate Border Army is here. Fang Jingqiang is here. Kong Teichu still dares to provoke him like this. That bastard is finally dead. She narrowed her eyes and mocked him with disdain. Unfortunately, he still doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth even when death is at hand, and he still dares to speak nonsense, causing Fang Jingqiang to be furious. That's a fake Dan expert we're talking about. I'm afraid that evil bastard will be torn to shreds. Shut up, bitch. At the side, when Jiang Yunhe heard this, his heart was in turmoil as he loudly shouted in anger. Chu Yunxiu retorted with a sneer. Jiang Yunhe, your Jiang clan has no foresight and followed the wrong person. Kong Teichu is but an ant from Earth, an abandoned person from the wasteland. What's laughable is that you all treat him like a god. She held her head high and regained her sense of superiority. Soon you will be finished. How dare you disrespect me? Kneel down and lick my toes. If I'm in a good mood, I might plead for you in front of City Lord Fang. Damn it. While I can still hit you now, I'll beat you up to satisfy my craving. Jiang Yunhe was furious and impatient. He kicked Chu Yunxiu to the ground, raised his fist and fiercely hammered her. He was having a great time beating her up when suddenly, an enormous pressure like Mount Tai came crashing down on him. It actually sent him flying several meters away. This fiend deserves to die. In the sky, after Jiang Tian's voice fell, the tens of thousands of soldiers of the Desolate Border Army roared in unison and stabbed the poles of their long swords and spears into the ground. Suddenly, an extremely strong killing intent, carrying a bloodthirsty smell, spread across several thousand meters and rolled out like raging waves beating the shore. Rumble. The soldiers and cultivators of Jadewell Peak and Golden Pine Peak were blown into a complete mess. They were like fallen leaves in a gale, powerlessly floating backwards. The entire Jadewell Peak shook violently with creaking sounds, as if it was about to completely collapse. Even Jiang Haishan and a few other elders were forced to stagger back a few steps by the violent pressure, their hearts overwhelmed with shock. Feng Jingqiang was indeed extraordinary. He was good at managing the army. The killing intent and strength of the desolate border army were astonishing. Even if he didn't come personally, he could probably break through Jade Well Peak and Golden Pine Peak, or even sweep through the entire Demon Cave Mountain. However, Jiang Tian, who bore the brunt of it, was like a spring breeze caressing his face. He was calm and collected, and even his clothes were not lifted. Feng Jingqiang's face was ashen. He stared coldly at Jiang Tian, and raised his hand. Behind him, the tens of thousands of soldiers immediately stopped shouting. The entire battlefield was restored to a deathly silence and austere. Feng Jingqiang looked at Jiang Tian with a face full of disdain and shouted in a deep voice, "Earth's ants are weak like insects, but they are so ignorant and arrogant. Today, I will kill you as a warning to the world. Warning the world of the serious consequences of provoking the heavenly star palace." Before he finished speaking, he stepped into the air, like a furious dragon emerging from the sea or a fierce tiger emerging from the dragon. His figure shot into the sky like a heavy cannon. "Go to hell!" Feng Jingqiang's roar was like a falling jade pillar. His power was endless. He took advantage of the falling momentum and smashed down with the mace in his hand. In a blink, the energy of the city lord was unleashed. The energy of a fake core overlord poured down like a river, suppressing the space within a 10-kilometer radius. On Jade Well Peak, countless towering trees were snapped and toppled in an instant. Huge boulders flew into the air, and then crashed down with a loud crash. The next second, they were all crushed and turned into powder under the violent pressure. Countless monsters and creatures within a 12-kilometer radius were startled. Some ran in all directions and some crawled on the ground, trembling. Jiang Haishan and the others couldn't even stand in front of the powerful energy. They were blown back like leaves and almost fell from the sky. As for the Transcendent State and Immortal State warriors, they couldn't resist at all. Hundreds of martial artists were affected by the powerful attack. They spurted out blood and were seriously injured. Feng Jingqiang only attacked once, but it had the power to destroy cities and mountains, forcing Jiang Haishan and the others to retreat. Haha, so powerful. City Lord Feng is so domineering. I'm willing to be his concubine. At the foot of the mountain, Chu Yunxiu laughed crazily and shouted, "Kong Te Chu, you bastard. How would you know what we're relying on? Feng Jingqiang, you're still too weak." At this moment, Jiang Tian was as still as a rock. He raised his white right hand and flicked his finger. Bang! Jiang Tian's fingers, which were even thinner than a girl's, flicked the mace made of black bronze essence. An astonishing scene appeared. Under Jiang Tian's finger, the spiked club that had once killed countless cultivators was now like tofu. First, a crack appeared on it, and then the crack spread like a spider web. In the next second, it shattered into pieces. What? Feng Jingqiang only felt that the mace in his hand had shattered. He couldn't help but be shocked and alert. Then, a sharp vital essence shot out from Jiang Tian's fingertip like an arrow and pierced Feng Jingqiang's chest. Block it! Feng Jingqiang dodged and hurriedly retreated like a shooting star. The finger light brushed past the heart protection mirror. Boom! The heart protection mirror released a blazing red light, which turned into a red Qilin phantom. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, trying to block it. But it was useless. Boom! The Qilin phantom was directly shattered by the finger light, turning into streaks of red flowing light and dissipating in the air. Then, chi! There was a sharp sound. A deep mark was left on the heart protection mirror by the finger light, and it burst into dazzling sparks. Feng Jingqiang's body shook violently as if he had been struck by lightning. His face was pale, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Whoosh! Feng Jingqiang retreated a few hundred meters before stabilizing himself. He looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief with a fearful expression. He obtained the mace and armor from the ancient ruin, and they could be considered as numinous treasures. The mace contained the spirit of a wolf while the bronze armor was protected by the spirit of a Qilin. The Qilin was one of the 9 sons of the true dragon, and was an ancient auspicious beast with unbelievable might. But now, The Qilan's soul was so scared that it went dormant and refused to come out no matter how he called. The heart protection mirror was scorching hot from a single finger light from Jiang Tian. Its Dao patterns were destroyed and even partially melted. Jiang Tian attacked extremely quickly, and many people couldn't see the details clearly. However, they could still see clearly that Fang Jingqiang's mace was shattered and he was sent flying a few hundred meters. Instantly, the entire place fell silent. Everyone was shaken to the core. Waves of shock rose in their hearts. They didn't dare to believe it. How is that possible? Fang Jingqiang is known as the human butcher, and has never been defeated. How can he retreat? After a long while, Wuxia, the peak master of Jishui Peak, screamed like a tomcat whose tail was stepped on. Kong Taichu can defeat Fang Jingqiang with a single finger. Many peak masters were dumbfounded and could not believe it. They were so shocked that they could not say a word. How can this ant be so strong? Chu Yunxiu could no longer be excited. Her smile froze on her face and her beautiful eyes were wide open. The tens of thousands of people present were shocked and full of disbelief. They looked at Jiang Tian dumbfoundedly as if they had seen a ghost. Fuck, women have long hair and short eyes. He's nothing. If he meets the concealment master, he'll die. Jiang Yunhe shouted and cheered himself on. Good. Big brother Jiang is invincible. Beat this villain to death. Xiao Beishan and the stinky monkey cheered for Jiang Tian. Immortal Master Jiang is so powerful. He shattered the opponent's mace with a single finger. That's a numinous artifact. It seems that Immortal Master Jiang's cultivation is definitely above the second level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Maybe he can turn the tables. Many elders and hall masters of Jinsong Peak were also shocked. Their confidence was greatly boosted, and they were so excited that their faces were red. It's not time for the final battle yet. Only Jiang Shanhai's face was still serious. He frowned and said, Fang Jingqiang's demonic art can summon the demon god. That's the most terrifying thing. He didn't use it just now. Kong Taichu, you can actually shatter my bronze mace. You can actually shatter my precious armor. Fang Jingqiang exclaimed in disbelief. At this time, his face was full of fear, and he did not dare to underestimate Jiang Tian at all. He thought that Jiang Tian was just a little white rabbit that he could crush easily. But suddenly he became a tyrannosaurus that was ready to devour people at any time. Chapter 924. Are you suppressing your power on purpose? Are you also a false core cultivator? Fang Jingqiang scrutinized Jiang Tian carefully. But after a while he shook his head. Impossible. This person couldn't be a false core cultivator. He must have used some kind of elixir or evil art to increase his power by force. He had many secret arts to detect the blood qi of the body. So he was sure that Jiang Tian was no more than 30 years old. There weren't many people who could reach the false core level before 30 in the heavenly star small world. Not to mention in the ruins of deity. I can't believe I didn't kill you with one finger. Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back and looked disappointed. He shook his head and sighed. You're too lucky. Ant from Earth, don't be so arrogant. Fang Jingqiang was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. Ignorant kid, you don't know how powerful I am. I haven't even used 1/10 of my strength. My 8 arms demon god technique, my magical equipment, can stomp you into meat paste in a matter of seconds. He glared at Jiang Tian with his bell-sized eyes, as if his eyes were about to split open. He pointed at Jiang Tian and roared like a thunderclap. The violent sound waves almost made people's eardrums explode. The blood in their chests was boiling. 8 arms fiend art? Haha. What kind of rubbish is that? I've traveled the universe and killed all kinds of fiend gods. Jiang Tian smiled in disdain, looking calm and unhurried. Bring out the altar. Fang Jingqiang shouted. Yes. On the ancient bronze chariot of Border City, many soldiers in golden armor pushed out a white bone altar that was 5 meters wide and floated in front of Fang Jingqiang. Retreat. Following Fang Jingqiang's order, the ancient battleships, chariots, and towers backed away like a tide. They only came to a stop 10 li away. Only the war chariot of Border City, where the white bone altar was placed, remained motionless. Many of the desolate border soldiers revealed complicated expressions of fear and fascination. At this moment, Fang Jingqiang's angry expression instantly vanished and revealed a devout and respectful expression. His hands formed ancient and profound hand seals, and his lips moved quickly as he chanted. On top of the huge human bone altar, there was a wooden statue of an 8-armed deity. Countless yellow talisman papers were stuck on it, fluttering in the wind. The talisman paper had numerous curved talisman markings that were shaped like tadpoles or strange snakes, and they were extremely profound and obscure. They were extremely dark red, and they were actually carved with human blood. Fang Jingqiang's mouth didn't move much, but the sky was filled with a loud and obscure devil language. As the demonic chanting became more and more urgent, the ancient worship was filled with black fog that engulfed the surroundings. Demonic qi was overflowing. Gradually, Fang Jingqiang seemed to have established a connection with another world, using himself as a bridge to communicate with the demon god. All of a sudden, a blood-red light burst out from the white bone altar, covering the sky and the sun like a red sunset. It shrouded the huge war chariot and illuminated the area within a radius of 10 miles as if it was dyed in blood. The blood-red light burst out from the white bone altar and shot up to 1,000 feet into the sky. Crackling lightning lingered around it and burst out in all directions. The lightning hit the top of the Jade Well Peak and melted the ice and snow. Even the stones on the peak were turned into dust and rolled down. The lightning surrounded the blood-red light and formed a giant lightning net that moved with a crackling sound. A surge of demonic energy suddenly gathered toward the white bone altar and bombarded the wooden statue. The statue suddenly began to expand and cracks appeared on it. Its aura became stronger and more terrifying. Retreat quickly. He's starting to summon the devil. Everyone retreat quickly. Tai Chu, fellow cultivator, why don't we avoid the attack? Jiang Haishan shouted, and his expression changed drastically. The 8 arms demonic god art was too terrifying. It had the power to destroy the world. Fang Jingqiang had once killed several peak fate core stage overlords by relying on it. Everyone also lost their composure and panicked. They stepped on their flying swords and retreated as fast as shooting stars. Even so, more than a dozen Foundation establishment stage overlords were still struck by the lightning and turned into ashes. Interesting. This world has actually produced demonic creatures before. Are they the ones who invaded the ancient earth? Jiang Tian looked at Fang Jingqiang and the altar with interest. His expression was calm. Although the demonic god was called a god, it was only because it was powerful and had divine powers. Its nature was still that of a devil. Gods were in charge of life and creation, while demons were in charge of death and destruction. In the cultivation world, they were widely distributed and occupied many realms. At this moment, Fang Jingqiang shouted and spat out a mouthful of blood on the wooden statue. Boom! The latter immediately exploded, and an 8-armed, 4-faced demonic god that was hundreds of feet tall suddenly appeared in the void. This demonic god was incomparably tall, like a giant mountain in the sky. Its 8 arms held 8 treasures, including a guqin, a pearl, a bow, an arrow, a skull, a bone, a spear, and a 1,000-layer pagoda. The 4 faces all revealed ferocious expressions as they grinned hideously. Insects from this inferior world, delicious insects, prepare to receive the wrath of the 8-armed great demon god. You can be eaten again. His saliva flowed down like a stream. At the same time, the guqin in his hand turned into rolling demonic sounds and rushed toward Jiang Tian like a raging wave. When everyone saw this, their hearts palpitated, and they found it difficult to breathe. Almost at the same time, everyone felt that their Taoist heart was seriously disturbed by the demonic sounds. They only felt that their inner demons and distracting thoughts were stirring. Young Master Jiang, don't fight. Why do you have to? Why don't you come to my room? Fairy Miao Yi's eyes flashed and her face blushed. Her voice was soft and seductive. Only after she spoke did she realize that she had lost her composure. She was so embarrassed that she quickly bit the tip of her tongue and shouted. She recited the heart-cleansing spell to suppress the demonic thoughts in her heart. Middle stage and late stage Foundation establishment cultivators could withstand it, but early stage Foundation establishment cultivators could not withstand it at all. Come on, young man, let's be embarrassed together. Beside the willow tree, Chu Yunxiu leaned against a bluestone. Her clothes were half undone, and her shoulders were exposed. She giggled and looked at the stinky monkey. The stinky monkey's eyes were dazed and he staggered over. I've been full of yang qi since I was young. I can indeed do some embarrassing things with my sister. The big black dog ignored him and slapped Chu Yunxiu to the ground. He looked up at the sky and said, "Little hussy, what are you mumbling about? Don't disturb me from watching the show." Insect? In my eyes, you're the insect. Not to mention that you're just an 8-armed demonic god soul clone. Even if you came personally, I could kill you with a raise of my hand. In the sky above Jadewell Peak, Jiang Tian's face was as calm as still water. His eyes were contemptuous as he sneered. This 8-armed demonic god did not belong to this world. It was just a remnant of a soul clone. For thousands of years, it was not nourished by demonic qi. Moreover, it was old and weak, and its soul was weak. It should have died long ago. In order to preserve this demonic god, Fang Jingqiang killed living people every day and sacrificed souls to maintain this demonic god's body. But to be honest, although this demonic god's cultivation was higher, its physique was far inferior to Niaming Yuan's demon body of purgatory. Jiang Tian had at least dozens of methods to kill it in seconds. Ghost transferring god dispatching talisman, demon vanquishing incantation, or directly devouring it with soul devourer's divine sense. Die vermin. The 8-armed demonic god was furious. Its 4 faces showed ferocious anger, and its 4 mouths roared in unison. Their voices shook the surroundings. Then it soared into the sky. Its 8 arms grabbed artifacts and danced like an octopus. All kinds of weapons and artifacts smashed toward Jiang Tian. Boom. As soon as it attacked, the whole sky seemed to collapse. Violent demonic qi and energy pushed in all directions. Suddenly, rocks from the surrounding peaks soared into the sky. Then, under the violent pressure, they turned into dust. Even Jadewell Peak began to show cracks like a spider web. The mountain trembled violently, and the protective formation seemed to collapse. Even though everyone was 10 miles away, they still felt suffocated and were sent flying in all directions. Evil demonic way. Jiang Tian roared. The sky-devouring demonic gourd at his waist jumped wildly, and a flying sword broke through the sky. The speed of this flying sword was incomparably fast. In the blink of an eye, it had reached his neck and circled around his head 4 times. Suddenly, 4 huge heads fell like meteorites. The mountain-like demonic body stiffened in the air. Everyone was shocked. Chu Yunxiu, Wu Xiuda, Li Hongyu, and the others were shocked and fearful. Got it. Yi Tianren, the Qiao siblings, the Stinky Monkey, and Jiang Haishan, who had retreated to Jadewell Peak, were all delighted. But in the next moment, everyone's faces were filled with astonishment. Not bad. The 4 heads that fell in the air sneered. Suddenly they grinned and mocked. But this body is not what you think. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The 4 huge demonic heads flew toward the neck and healed in the blink of an eye. This body is just a statue of a demonic god. Even if you cut off my head 100 times, you can't do anything to me. Boom. He smiled ferociously and stretched out his hand. He grabbed a 300-meter-high mountain and smashed it toward Jiang Tian like a sledgehammer. This scene was too shocking. This demonic god grabbed a mountain and used it as a weapon, trying to smash Jiang Tian to death with its surging strength. The mountain was like a cloud in the sky, covering the sky and casting a large shadow on the ground. It weighed more than 10 million tons. When it smashed down, the rocks on it rumbled and rolled down. The 8-armed, 4-faced demonic god attacked. He was indomitable and filled with demonic qi. He grabbed a mountain and used it as a weapon to smash down with the power of heaven and earth. Such a powerhouse could probably tear apart a huge city in 10 breaths of time. Who would dare to stop him? Who could resist? This demonic god is so powerful that it's terrifying. The tens of thousands of people present were shocked. Countless people's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They were filled with disbelief. Really? If 100 times is not enough, then 10,000 times. Jiang Tian smiled and patted the sky-devouring demonic gourd. First, 9 flying swords flew out, flashing with cold light and white frost. Suddenly, The silver bottle with surging sword light burst out like water, and the remaining 99,900 and 9,900 flying swords burst out. The flying swords flew across the sky. One sword was in front, followed by 2 swords. Then there were 4 swords, 8 swords and 16 swords. The more flying swords there were, the larger the sword formation became. The whole formation was a huge cone with a radius of 1 mile. The tips of the swords spun rapidly, and thousands of cold light shone over several miles, forming a huge drill sword style. Whoosh! With a bang, it was like a tsunami. Thousands of flying swords covered the sky and the sun. They were invincible and pierced toward the 8-armed demonic god and the mountain. At this moment, everyone looked at Jiang Tian in horror. They felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar, and cold sweat covered their backs. Chapter 925. Tens of thousands of flying swords surged like a tide, crossing the sky like a heavenly river. Everyone was dumbfounded. This. What kind of cultivation does this kid have? Many people's faces were filled with shock and disbelief. The tens of thousands of people present were dumbfounded. The desolate wilderness soldiers were scared out of their wits. Even Fang Jingqiang was stunned, cold sweat crawling up his back. This scene was too shocking. Jiang Tian was controlling 10,000 flying swords in one breath. It was too frightening. Each flying sword emitted a metallic luster, condensed and sharp, bursting with sword radiance. Such heavy flying swords made of special metals, such vast sword qi, such an astonishing number. Jiang Tian's vital essence was surging and vigorous. Fei core? He might not even have reached the golden core realm. Then give it a try, vermin. The 8-armed demon god roared. His 4 thick arms swung the huge mountain peak, and collided with the flying swords. Suddenly bang bang bang. Flames splashed in the sky and huge rocks flew. The mountain peak trembled violently with smoke and dust billowing. Even though the 8-armed demon god had a special physique and infinite strength, he could not bear it. Roar. Ouch 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 ouch. The 8-armed demon god looked up to the sky and cried out in pain. His 4 arms were bleeding and his skin was torn open. In the end, he abandoned many of his weapons and grabbed the mountain peak with his 8 arms to stabilize himself. However, his arms were still in pain and numb from the shock. Suddenly, the 8-armed demon god felt his arms lighten. Many flying swords had pierced through the mountain peak, flickering with a vicious cold light. They were like a school of shining fish in the deep sea, densely packed and spinning, drilling into his chest. Damn it! Endless heavenly demon! The 8-armed demon god was shocked. He roared like a thunderclap, and his demonic chi and energy surged. Boom boom boom. The air trembled as black demonic chi broke through the clouds. He stretched out all 8 of his arms, punching, grabbing, pushing, and crossing his arms in an attempt to block the many sword chis. Bang bang bang. First, the demon god's thick palms and arms broke off inch by inch. Then, a flying sword continued to rush forward and drilled into his chest. Suddenly, blood gushed out like a tide, and red flesh rained down. Devil chi mixed with white broken bones shot out in all directions like arrows. Huff! The tens of thousands of flying swords disappeared into its stomach. The 8-armed demon god stood motionlessly in the air. The entire place was deathly silent. Everyone felt as if they were dreaming, unable to regain their senses for a long time. The 8-armed demonic god, using a mountain peak as a weapon, and tens of thousands of flying swords streaking across the sky. Everything that had happened today was too shocking. Then chi. Tens of thousands of sharp flying swords shot out from all parts of the 8-armed demon god's body in a bloody mist, and shot in all directions. These flying swords were personally designed by Jiang Tian. When Xiao Beishan and the others were forging them, Jiang Tian supervised and guided the entire process. They were all engraved with many profound runes that contained powerful magic power. Every time the sharp sword pierced through and flew out, it would take away a large amount of the 8-armed demon god's blood essence, energy, mana, and even mental energy. The 8-armed demon god's body was instantly riddled with holes like a sieve. Devil chi and blood flowed out uncontrollably. His body began to collapse inch by inch. He muttered gloomily, "This kid is so strong. The energy of this doppelganger has been used up. Demon summoner, you deal with him yourself. I've disappeared. Then his body exploded with a bang. Even his consciousness and devil chi disappeared in the air. Whoosh! 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 Tens of thousands of swords streaked across the sky like silver fish, and flew back into Jiang Tian's sky-devouring demonic gourd. What? Great demon god, don't go. Help me. Fang Jingqiang's face was full of disbelief. He panicked and shouted loudly, constantly chanting the demon language. But unfortunately, no matter what he did, the white bone altar remained motionless. The eight-armed demon god never appeared again. At this time, everyone was shocked. At this moment, the scene was so quiet that even the sound of a needle dropping could be heard. Everyone was dumbfounded. Their faces were full of shock and disbelief. An ant from Earth, a second-level Foundation establishment cultivator, was able to defeat the almighty demon god. Even if it was only a doppelganger of his divine soul, it still made people feel as if they were dreaming. It was unbelievable. That's impossible. Wuxia's face was pale. He frowned and said with a trembling voice, "He's just a lowly person from Earth. How could he defeat the demon god? Is Kong Teichu really that powerful? Does he really have the combat ability of a fake core cultivator?" The other peak masters who had surrendered changed their expressions. For the first time, they doubted whether their decision was right. He must have taken some elixirs to forcefully increase his cultivation level. It can't last long. He can't hold on much longer. Chu Yunxia was greatly shocked. Her face was pale and her eyes were crazy. She tried to comfort herself. Could it be that I've underestimated him? Did Master make a mistake? Does he have the ability to defeat Fang Jingqiang and the border army? Fairy Miao Yi's eyes were also wide open. Her face was full of disbelief, as if she had met Jiang Tian for the first time. However, Yi Tianren glanced at the chariots with a solemn expression and said, "That's right. I'm afraid Fang Jingqiang is going to give it his all. His advantage lies in his 10,000 soldiers." A city lord like Fang Jingqiang was actually far less powerful than those top sect masters. However, why was he able to stand shoulder to shoulder with him, speak as equals, dominate an area, intimidate the desolate border? It was because of his 10,000 soldiers and the strength of numbers. It was because of the many buildings, chariots, armors, heavy cannons, crossbows and other powerful Dharma artifacts. Sure enough, Fang Jingqiang's face was full of murderous intent. He raised his hand and shouted, "Good men of the border, listen to my order. All troops, advance and kill this bastard for me. I'll reward you handsomely. Good men, for the sake of justice, kill the enemy. Today, we'll eliminate the evil and protect the heavenly star small world together." Li Hongyu pointed her slender finger at Jiang Tian and shouted. At this time, the woman had changed into a military uniform. She was wearing golden armor and a golden helmet, and the peacock plume on her head was swaying. The armor was very fitting, making her waist slim and her chest high. It also made her look valiant and high-spirited. She was not inferior to men. She walked to a huge war drum and took the drumstick from the soldier's hand. Dong, dong, dong. She was originally from a brothel. She was beautiful and talented. She danced gracefully while beating the drum, and the rhythm was extremely moving. For the vicissitudes of justice, countless soldiers of the border roared together and beat the war drum. They drove the chariots, warships, and buildings to crush Jiang Tian. Many chariots, battleships, and cloud towers covered the sky. The power alchemy furnaces took in and spat out huge amounts of spiritual energy, crushing the air and emitting endless golden light. They quickly flew over and suppressed Jiang Tian. Ha, good. This is the power of the border army. Even a fake core cultivator will be crushed into meat paste. Seeing this scene, Chu Yunxia was shocked and fascinated. She regained her confidence and looked at Jiang Tian in the sky as if he were an ant. Tai Chu, retreat to the protective array. They have thunder cannons. They have heaven-shaking crossbows. Jiang Haishan's expression changed drastically. He ordered people to activate the protective arrays and sent a message to Jiang Tian. It's over. The army is going to move out. This barren city is too ruthless. At this time, in the fortifications of the Jade Well Peak, the leader of the Booming Sky mercenaries was as pale as paper. He was so scared that his legs were shaking. The Booming Sky mercenaries were one of the top mercenary groups in the Demon Cave Mountain. They were made up of more than 100 late-stage chi refinement and immortal state warriors. They had a brilliant record and rich combat experience. This time he was invited by Jiang Haishan to fight side by side with Jin Songfeng of the Jade Well Peak. But at this moment, they were as vulnerable as ants compared to the regular army of the border. They're serious. I shouldn't have taken this job. The leader of the Flying Rainbow Bounty. The hunters were also shocked and regretted it so much that he almost cried. The army moved out, and the giant bronze warships flew across the sky. Thousands of cannons were fired at the same time. Who could withstand such an attack? Boom, boom, boom. At the front of the border army, 50 bronze warships took the lead. When they were 5 kilometers away from Jiangtian, they suddenly turned sideways and aimed at Jiangtian and the Jadewell Peak. The windows on one side opened, revealing many bronze warships. Instantly, a myriad of cannons rang out, and many cannonballs that were shrouded in electromagnetic lightning shot toward Jiangtian. On the 100 chariots behind the battleship, 1,000 Divine Realm warriors pulled their crossbows to the fullest. Creak, 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 screech, screech. In the next moment, as the bowstring that was flashing with golden light vibrated and bounced back, huge arrows that were like long spears shot up into the sky, drawing a perfect parabola in the air. They were as fast as flowing lights and as dense as raindrops, shooting heavily towards Jiangtian. These arrows were engraved with many patterns and had powerful Dharma powers. Each of them was a Dharma treasure and could penetrate an immortal state warrior or a late-stage chi refinement cultivator. Moreover, there were tens of thousands of them. Even a golden core cultivator would be exhausted to death. And above the 10 towers at the back, there were 300 cultivators. They were all at the foundation establishment level, and there were many late-stage foundation establishment cultivators among them. There were men and women, old and young. They were all dressed differently, but all of them were serious and had extraordinary backgrounds. Some came from sects and sacred grounds, some were experienced itinerant cultivators who practiced evil arts, and some came from rich families and large families. The 10 towers were taller than the warships and chariots. They were as steep as mountains and were at the back. There were many powerful cultivators gathered, and it was the place to launch a strategic attack. This was the killing weapon of the border army. Every one of them had an extraordinary background. They were the reinforcements that Fang Jingqiang had hired with a lot of money. One of them could fight against 1,000 overlords. Li Jiang sword art. Kill. In one of the towers, a young cultivator in a blue robe made a gesture with his right hand. A flying sword of the quasi-spirit treasure level jumped out from behind him. The sword light was like frost and the moon, illuminating a few hundred meters. It struck towards Jiangtian like lightning. This monster from Earth is so powerful. An old monk with the energy of an old turtle sat on the top of a tower, surrounded by golden Buddha light. He opened his eyes and let out a sigh. Chapter 926. The old monk was Master Yuanjing of the Prajna Temple. On this continent, the Prajna Temple was second only to the demon-subduing temple among the Buddhist forces. On the heavenly law ranking, Master Yuanjing was ranked in the top 30. He was not far from Ding Lai Miayu and the others. His battle prowess was almost on par with Fang Jingqiang. Taoist graphite was not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Today he had accepted Fang Jingqiang's invitation and brought 30 Foundation Establishment Realm disciples to assist him in slaying Jiangtian. Freedom Prajna art. Buddhist handprint. Die for this poor monk. At this moment, Master Yuanjing suddenly opened his eyes and pushed out 100-meter-long golden palm from the sky. 10,000 snakes. Let the little kid on earth know how powerful the snake sect is. There was also a seductive woman in red standing on top of a building. Her skin was fair, her chest was high, and her slender waist was very attractive. Her earrings kept twisting. If one looked closely, they were actually small colorful snakes. Under her command, red, green, and white mutated snakes flapped their fleshy wings and shot towards Jiang Tian like whistling arrows from the woods and meadows within 3 miles of the Jadewell Peak. She was the sect master of the snake sect, someone who wasn't inferior to the peak lords of the main peaks in the Demon Cave Mountain. Later, she was conquered by Fang Jingqiang and became his disciple, living in a barren city. In this wave of attack, battleships, chariots, and buildings moved together. Tens of thousands of overlords attacked Jiang Tian together. Their Dharma treasures covered the sky and sword auras were everywhere, attacking from all directions. It could be said to be an inescapable net. There was no chance for him to dodge at all. Why isn't Tai Chu dodging? I'm afraid even a sect master like me wouldn't be able to block it. Seeing this, Jiang Haishan's heart skipped a beat, as if he had fallen into an abyss. He definitely can't block it. Even my master can't block it. He's going to die. Fairy Miao Yi's face was pale, and her head was buzzing. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears and she was about to cry. This time he'll definitely die. The corners of Chu Yunxiu's mouth twitched crazily, her eyes feverish. Even more people were dumbfounded. Their mouths were wide open, but they couldn't make a single sound. Such an attack was like a raging wave that swept through the world like a hurricane, and it destroyed everything in its path. This kind of destructive power was simply too terrifying. Not even a false core cultivator could withstand a single strike. It could destroy cities and sects in an instant. This was the strength of the regular army of the cultivation world. All kinds of demons and ghosts had to submit to him. Perhaps only those in the later stage of the Golden Core realm could survive. Fang Jingqiang, is this your trump card? I'm so disappointed. But when faced with the surging pressure, Jiang Tian seemed as if a cool breeze had brushed past his face, and his expression was indifferent and calm like an ancient well without ripples. Seal. Following Jiang Tian's soft shout, a surge of golden seal energy soared into the sky. With him as the center, it exploded in an instant and swept in all directions, pushing the 9 heavens and 10 earths crazily. The boundless seal energy seemed to be endless and kept pushing forward. In the end, with Jiang Tian as the center, a huge golden ball with a radius of half a mile burst out. And within this golden sphere of restriction, numerous spear-like arrows, numerous flying swords, numerous magic treasures. All of them were suspended in the air in astonishment, motionless. Even the thunderbolt cannonballs, which were known for their fierceness and violence, were frozen there. Those thunderbolts were still in a threatening posture, but they couldn't move forward at all. Even the tens of thousands of colorful and gorgeous mutated poisonous snakes were suspended in the air with dumbfounded looks in their eyes. They even opened their bloody mouths and spat out their scarlet forked tongues, maintaining the posture of flapping their wings and flying away. In an instant, everyone at the scene gasped and was dumbfounded as if they had seen a ghost. How is this possible? The eyes of tens of thousands of soldiers almost popped out, and they were so scared that their weapons fell to the ground. At this time, Jiang Tian was using a real immortal magic art, not some true essence or aura. This golden ball was full of golden light, and runes were floating on it. It was magnificent and extremely tough. Even if a golden core cultivator attacked with all his strength, he might not be able to break it. Isn't he an ant on earth? How can he be proficient in such a perfected immortal magic art? Seeing this, Wuxia exclaimed. He had also felt the power of Jiang Tian's seal. It was able to freeze his black water saber art in an instant. At that time, he was already shocked. But he didn't expect that Jiang Tian's seal was 10 times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times more powerful than before. Where did he come from? Is he the reincarnation of the old devil? Li Hongyu was so scared that her face turned pale, and she almost peed on the spot. The drumstick fell on her foot, and she grimaced in pain. These battleships, cloud towers, chariots, and Dharma artifacts were all from the ruins of an ancient battlefield. They contained surging power, and had surpassed the current level of crafting in the heavenly star small world. But they couldn't kill Jiang Tian. All the attacks were blocked by Jiang Tian. It was simply too shocking. This bastard is so powerful. Chu Yunxiu was also shocked. Her face was as pale as paper, and she was dumbfounded. Cold sweat poured down her face as if she had seen a ghost. What are you waiting for? Kill him again. I don't believe we can't kill him. Fang Jingqiang stood on the desolate border's bronze chariot's head, roaring like a wild beast. Many soldiers looked up and couldn't help but be frightened. They saw that Jiang Tian had already rushed to the sky. He stepped in the air and rushed towards everyone like a ray of light. He walked in the air, and the 9 main flying swords circled around him. They turned into a ray of light that shot to the sky and attacked everyone. As for the golden ball, it was controlled by Jiang Tian's invisible spiritual power and floated behind him. Attack! The fear in the hearts of many soldiers of the barren city turned into sharp murderous intent. They activated their Dharma artifacts again. But Jiang Tian didn't give them a chance. It was all too late. Jiang Tian's 9 flying swords, under the control of his immortal will, suddenly merged into a 10-meter-long giant flying sword and swept across the sky. Instantly, a 3,000-meter-long giant sword light swept across the sky. It was extremely dazzling. This sword light was extremely dazzling. At this moment, there seemed to be nothing else in the world except for this sword. The sword light seemed to be able to sweep across the 9 heavens and 10 earths, suppressing all the heavens and carrying the supreme majesty. It was engraved with countless runes and talismans, and it contained endless vital essence. It was vast, surging, and extremely sharp. It swept across and nothing could stop it. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Many bronze battleships, which could withstand nuclear explosions, were slashed by the sword light as if they were made of mud. If time stopped at this moment, people would find that the cross-sections of the bronze as thick as city walls were as smooth as mirrors, and could even reflect the scenery. The sword light moved forward without any hindrance. In just a second, it went from left to right and swept across 50 ancient battleships. Countless immortal state warriors and cultivators, including those at the peak stage of the Qi refinement realm and the foundation establishment level, couldn't withstand it. Many people were cut in half at the waist. Blood gushed out like tides and their bodies fell to the ground silently. Jiang Tian's sword had killed 1,000 people. On the battleships, some cultivators who were lucky enough to survive were covered in cold sweat. They hurried to escape on small flying swords, boats and other small flying Dharma artifacts. Son of a bitch. Go and eat. Jiang Tian smiled. He's here. Master. The old dragon stood up and transformed into the true form of a purple-gold true dragon. Then he soared into the sky. He was over 300 meters long, and his dragon scales flickered with an intimidating cold light. He opened his mountain-like mouth and sucked in a breath. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Many cultivators and martial artists were swallowed into his stomach amidst their screams and wails. Fresh. The cultivators of the heavenly star small world are indeed different. They're so chewy. He held a 1-meter-long spicy strip in one of his front paws and swung the other claws quickly. He grabbed a person and stuffed him into his mouth, chewing and swallowing loudly while praising loudly. Then, the broken runes, reaction power furnaces, and magical equipment on the battleship exploded uncontrollably. The enormous energy and magical power contained in them exploded uncontrollably. Boom. Boom. The earth-shattering explosions were heavy and shocking. A series of incomparably dazzling flames lit up, as if a series of supernova explosions had occurred. Violent energy swept out in all directions, causing the earth to tremble and mountains to tremble. Even the void was annihilated. And this earth-shattering explosion was only the first note of Jiang Tian's high-spirited battle song. Whoosh! The old dragon was blown hundreds of meters away by the violent airwaves and fell into a mountain with a boom. A moment later he flew out unsteadily as if he were drunk. He looked at the shattered cultivators in his claws and said gloomily, "They're not tasty anymore." When Jiang Tian took the second step, he was thousands of meters away in a flash. He was like an awe-inspiring god of war, hovering above the largest ancient battleship. Both of his hands pushed out a vast amount of Zhen Yuan, holding a sword and slashing down with all his might. "You can't kill me, ant from earth." Fang Jingqiang roared angrily. The blood in his body surged and his body expanded to 20 meters in an instant. He held the azure dragon flaming saber in his hand and blocked the attack. At the same time, he took out a bronze mirror that floated above his head. It emitted endless light and formed a golden shield that completely enveloped him. The runes on his armor flickered and flickered. 7 or 8 protective Dharma treasures, including jade pendants, waist tags, necklaces and even spirit treasures, surged with Dharma powers and bloomed with colorful lights. In an instant, strange phenomena appeared. Fang Jingqiang used all his cultivation and many Dharma treasures to block Jiang Tian's attack. But under Jiang Tian's stunning attack, all resistance were useless. Chapter 927. Jiang Tian's sword was sharp to the extreme. Nothing could block it. It hacked down like lightning. The bronze mirror was also a spiritual artifact, but it only lasted for 3 seconds before it was cut in half and fell to the ground. The azure dragon flaming saber and other protective shields were even more vulnerable. They were easily cut in half by Jiang Tian's sword aura. The long saber and many protective magical artifacts suffered from the backlash and cracked or exploded, turning into dust. The sharp curved sword aura was like a cutting machine that could cut through everything. Immortal Master Jiang, don't kill me. I can tell you the location of the ancient ruins. At the last moment, Fang Jingqiang was finally scared. He begged with a face full of fear. Even if you don't tell me, I can still find out. Jiang Tian sneered and the sword aura in his hand slashed down mercilessly. The sharp sword aura cut through Fang Jingqiang's golden helmet like a knife cutting through water. It went straight down to his crotch and still didn't slow down. Zong. With a sharp sound, the lower part of the ancient warship was penetrated, leaving a shocking wound. So powerful? Fang Jingqiang's body suddenly shrank to the size of an ordinary person. He held the broken saber in his hand, and stood there stiffly with a look of shock and disbelief on his face. Jiang Tian landed on the bronze warship, and looked at Fang Jingqiang with disdain. An invisible black soul appeared between Jiang Tian's eyebrows and invaded Fang Jingqiang's mind like lightning, searching all his memories. City Lord, why are you still standing there? Fight back and kill this bastard. The enemy who killed her brother was close at hand. Li Hongyu's murderous intent was aroused. She looked at Jiang Tian with red eyes and shouted angrily. But in the next moment, her angry rebuke turned into a tragic cry, and she let out an incomparably shrill cry. A line of blood appeared on Fang Jingqiang's forehead and kept spreading down. The line of blood became bigger and bigger. Suddenly, blood gushed out like a waterfall, and then his body exploded. Bang! 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 Armors, clothes, blood, broken bones, minced flesh, skin, hair, limbs. They fell like a heavy downpour. The ugly head fell into Li Hongyu's arms. Jie. The woman held it in her hands and looked at it. Immediately, her limbs convulsed and her delicate body convulsed violently. She urinated and defecated. Her eyes rolled back and she fainted. In the blink of an eye, the entire place was dead silent. Even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Around Jadewell Peak, within a radius of 10 li, there were over 10,000 people on the battlefield. None of them said a word. Whether it was the Border Baron army, the experts watching the battle, or even Jiang Tian's comrades, everyone was shocked. They were dumbfounded, and their faces were full of shock and astonishment. Fake Core expert, butcher, desolate border city lord, Li Longyuan's honorary disciple, Fang Jingqiang, had been killed by Jiang Tian's sword. In this battle, Jiang Tian had only attacked a few times. However, it was as though he was crushing dry weeds. He annihilated the fiend celestials, slaughtered humans, killed thousands of people and suppressed tens of thousands of soldiers. Such a battle record was simply unprecedented. It was like a legend, and it was inconceivable. Fang Jingqiang and the desolate border army actually lost? Master Yuanjing spoke with difficulty, his voice hoarse and dry. Fang Jingqiang is already at the perfected fake core realm. Furthermore, he has the secret technique of summoning demons, and possesses the strength to destroy cities and mountains. Yet he lost to Kong Teichu? The sect master of Snake Desire sect had shock and fear written all over her seductive face. As for the other experts, they were all silent. Since Jiang Tian had the strength to shake the desolate border city, he was probably not far from overturning the Heavenly Star Palace. This world was really going to undergo a great change. What should they do and how should they decide? It was truly a headache. Clatter. The desolate border soldiers had dazed gazes and were filled with fear. Dazed, the spears and bows in their hands fell to the ground one after another. The surging battle intent of the tens of thousands of soldiers vanished without a trace in an instant, as though they were removing firewood from the bottom of a cauldron. In the army, Fang Jingqiang worshipped everyone. In the eyes of these soldiers he was like a god. But now, he was killed by Jiang Tian's sword. Everyone's souls trembled in extreme fear. We won't accept this. We will fight for the righteous path, for the peace of the heavenly star small world, for the city lord's revenge, and for the city lord's death. We will fight you to the end. In the silence, only a tall and burly general on the Intrepid waved his blade and roared, his battle intent surging. This person was Fang Jingqiang's clansman and old friend. He had once received Fang Jingqiang's kindness and was loyal, and would rather die than surrender. In truth, this Intrepid was only second to the city lord's worship in terms of size, dermic powers and offensive power. Above it were 300 generals and soldiers. They were the sons of the desolate border cities' officials, aristocratic families, and the greedy class. They were Fang Jingqiang's death warriors. Everyone understood the principle that without the skin, where would the hair be attached to? Every revolution was a great purge of the greedy class. After this, Jiang Tian would definitely kill them all. At this moment, they all roared like thunder and drove the ancient bronze warship toward Jiang Tian. Stubborn? Then I'll fulfill your wish. Jiang Tian faintly smiled, his eyes cold. The huge golden orb floating in the air rapidly shrunk under his control and shot towards the Intrepid battleship. In the blink of an eye, it arrived near the Intrepid. The golden restriction sphere had already shrunk to 0.5 meter in diameter. Primal chaos surged and released a dazzling radiance, containing an enormous amount of energy. In the blink of an eye, the moment Jiang Tian removed the restriction, the berserk energy contained within instantly exploded. Flames soared into the sky, lightning crackled and black smoke roiled. A giant mushroom cloud 1 kilometer in diameter soared into the sky. In an instant, the Intrepid was melted into molten bronze and scattered in all directions. When the billowing dust scattered, the sky was calm. Not even a drop of dust remained of the cultivators. The Intrepid had been completely swept clean. This was the result of resisting concealment, Immortal Master. All the soldiers and generals on the bronze war chariots realized this. Fear was contagious. The 10 cloud towers, the final trump card of the desolate border army, had all submitted. When they saw the Intrepid being swept clean, how could the martial artists on the bronze war chariots persist? Spare us. Concealment, Immortal Master, spare us. We are all children of poor families. We only joined the army to make a living. They all threw away their weapons, some even taking off their armor and helmets. They prostrated on the ground, trembling in submission. The defensive abilities of these war chariots were on the same level as the warships, but they were still destroyed by Jiang Tian's sword. Sanskrit Temple's high monk, Yuanjing, was so frightened that he crushed his prayer beads. Then he prostrated himself deeply, saying with a trembling voice, I never thought that Concealment Immortal Master's cultivation would be so heaven-defying. Sanskrit Temple is willing to submit and follow you for a grand plan. To be able to kill a false core cultivator with a single sword, completely suppressing them, this kind of battle prowess already surpassed golden core cultivators. If he continued fighting, he would only be cannon fodder. None of them would be able to take a single blow. My serpent sect is also willing to follow Concealment Immortal Master. From today onwards, my serpent sect will follow Absolute Beginning Immortal Master. If you have any orders, we will follow without question. The head of the serpent sect, that flirtatious woman, also trembled and prostrated on the ground. We're willing to follow Absolute Beginning Immortal Master. Then the many experts on the 10 cloud towers seemed to have suddenly reacted and prostrated on the ground, trembling. They were afraid that they would be killed by Jiang Tian with a flick of his finger, if they were a second late. Didn't you say that you wanted to kill me? Why are you suddenly submitting now? Jiang Tian glanced at the experts on the cloud tower with interest, and said with a cold smile, Please allow me to report, Concealment Immortal Master. The abbot of Sanskrit Temple put his palms together and lowered his head, smiling bitterly. Li Longyuan's actions were already unpopular, and we didn't accept it at all. However, we were afraid of his power and couldn't see any hope of winning. We were also threatened by Fang Jingqiang, so we had no choice but to become your enemy. I'm a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator, and I'm proficient in Buddhist psyche divine powers. I'm willing to serve absolute beginning immortal master. I only beg immortal master Jiang to spare this old man's life. Absolute beginning immortal master, we're sincerely submitting to you. The seductive cult leader of the Serpent Desire sect gazed at him with her beautiful eyes. Now that we've seen Master Kang's power, we won't follow you anymore. We'll conquer a great land together. Wouldn't we be fools then? Absolute beginning immortal master, please lead us to break this unfair world and restore the glory of Tianqing. Haha. You used to belong to the Demon Cave Mountain, but you betrayed us and betrayed us. You deserve to be killed. Jiang Tian nodded and looked at the peak masters of the Demon Cave Mountain who had betrayed him. It's too late. We made the wrong choice. After witnessing Jiang Tian's overwhelming power, the peak leaders' faces turned pale from fright. Especially Zhou Huijin, Zhao Muyang and some other juniors. Even if they were elites, they were so scared that they even peed their pants. Meanwhile, the other peak masters were terrified and regretful. They even wanted to slap themselves in the face. Who said that Kong Teichu was only at the second level of the foundation establishment level, and that he only relied on pills and secret arts to increase his power? That was bullshit. Miayu, you've screwed me over. What kind of pills and secret arts could last so long? What kind of pills could make Jiang Tian fight the 8-armed fiend god and kill Fang Jingqiang with a slash? That's impossible. No matter how strong Kong Teichu was, he clearly had the strength to fight a fake core cultivator, or even a golden core cultivator. Absolute beginning immortal master, we were blind. Please forgive us. We're willing to submit to the Demon Cave Mountain and help you guard the border cities. Absolute beginning immortal master, we were wrong. You're in need of people. We're willing to serve you. When Jiang Tian's cold gaze swept over, the peak masters couldn't hold on any longer and fell to their knees one after another, kowtowing to Jiang Tian as if they were pounding garlic. You can submit to me. Jiang Tian pondered for a while and said calmly, You've already betrayed me. It's hard for me to trust you. You have to sign a divine soul contract with me. If you betray me again, I'll make sure you'll never be reincarnated. We're willing. Everyone's expression turned bitter. They hesitated for a moment, but in the end, they still chose to kowtow and submit. Once they signed a divine soul contract, they would become Jiang Tian's slaves. They wouldn't dare to disobey and they wouldn't have a chance to resist. In order to save their lives, they had no other choice but to be Jiang Tian's slaves forever. Chapter 928. Jiang Tian's divine sense moved, and dozens of black soul devourers' divine senses spread out like tentacles, burrowing into their minds and settling down quietly. These soul devourers' divine senses were intelligent, and could monitor their every move at any time. If they betrayed Jiang Tian, they would not be able to escape death even if they fled to the ends of the earth, or even left this small world. This was because the soul devourers' divine senses could quickly devour their divine senses without the command of Jiang Tian's main divine sense. They could kill them directly or completely occupy their bodies, turning them into walking corpses. Immortal Master Jiang, what about me? I also want to make a divine soul contract with you and be your slave. Among the crowd, only Wuxia was prostrating on the deck of the chariot, trembling like a quail. His face was full of flattery as he spoke in a low voice. At this moment, his endless killing intent and hatred had turned into cold sweat. He had never thought that Jiang Tian would be able to fight the army of the borderlands alone. Under such circumstances, Jiang Tian definitely had the strength to challenge Li Longyuan. He regretted it so much. He was really out of his mind. Why did he have to avenge his son? Wu Tengying was not his only son. He had more than a dozen sons. Besides, if his sons died, he could always have more. Just now, Jiang Tian did not place any soul devourer in his mind, and did not make a divine soul contract with him. He was so scared that he almost wet his pants. He knew that Jiang Tian might kill him. You're not worthy to be my slave. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold as he pointed at Wuxia. Bang! Wuxia didn't even have the chance to beg for mercy before his body exploded. Sparkling and translucent flesh and blood rained down like a heavy rain. We congratulate the Tai Chu Celestial Master on defeating the Borderlands and achieving immortality. We're willing to die to find the Tai Chu Celestial Master and fight Li Longyuan to the death. Many Peak Masters, Cave Masters, Fort Masters, Master Yuanjing, the Snake Sect's leader, and the experts of the Li River Sword Sect were so scared that they trembled. They kowtowed to Jiang Tian and congratulated him respectfully. Since that's the case, all of you will be reorganized. Jiang Tian nodded and said in a loud voice, Jiang Haishan Ing Luo Qiao Beishan Stinking Monkey, lead the soldiers and detain these people. Then we'll screen them one by one. The elites and talents among them who are sincerely willing to join us can stay. The rest of the diehards were either killed or crippled. For those with mediocre aptitude, disarm them and return to their fields. We won. The Grand Primordium Immortal Master won. We won. On Jadewell Peak, many of the defending troops were jubilant. Jiang Haishan, Yi Tianren, and the other strong practitioners led the crowd of heroes. He stepped on his sword and soared into the sky to take over the warships, chariots, and cloud towers. He then escorted the captives to the dungeon. Haha, Chu Yunxiu, do you still think your Chu clan has a chance to make a comeback? On the banks of the Luin River, Jiang Yunhe cast a sidelong glance at the pale and shivering Chu Yunxiu. You also said that the Concealment Immortal Master was at the second level of Foundation establishment, and relied on medicinal pills to forcefully increase his cultivation? What kind of pill or secret technique can last for so long? How is it possible to kill a false core expert in one strike? Could he be a gold core expert? Chu Yunxiu stared at Jiang Tian in the sky, dumbfounded. She was in a daze as if she didn't hear his words. Relying on medicinal pills to forcefully increase one's cultivation had many drawbacks and limitations. Take the Qi Explosion pill for example. Taking several of them could increase one's cultivation by a large margin, such as from the middle stage to the late stage of Foundation establishment. But generally speaking, the effect of the pill could only last for a day or even a few hours. And after the effect of the pill wore off, the cultivator's cultivation would definitely drop by a large margin. It would take a few years for the cultivator to recover. Moreover, before the cultivator's cultivation recovered, they couldn't continuously take pills. Otherwise, they would lose all their cultivation and even explode. Jiang Tian had already shown his false core cultivation by the Blackwater Lake once. If he really relied on medicinal pills to forcefully increase his cultivation, then this time, it was absolutely impossible for him to show battle prowess surpassing the false core level. Answer me, you blind bitch. Jiang Yunhe sneered and slapped Chu Yunxiu's face. He scolded coldly. You still say my Jiang clan's choice is stupid? In my opinion, you're the biggest idiot. Chu Yunxiu was slapped to the ground. Her face was swollen, but she didn't feel any pain on her face. She only felt a strong sense of regret churning in her heart and rushing to the top of her head. Her tears almost flowed out. That's right, compared to the physical pain. What she felt was even more severe was the mental torture. One had to know that the first time Jiang Tian came to the Demon Cave Mountain, he relied on the Jadewell Peak. If she had discerning eyes at that time, then right now, they would be Jiang Tian's favorites, suppressing the other peaks. When Jiang Tian conquered the Heavenly Star Palace, as a meritorious elder, as a meritorious official, their Chu clan would be just around the corner. Any cultivation techniques and resources would be easily obtained. However, she repeatedly disrespected and humiliated him without repentance. In the end, she walked to the opposite side of Jiang Tian. She was beyond redemption. Recalling the scene of her repeatedly provoking and humiliating Jiang Tian, she was so scared that her face turned pale and her delicate body trembled uncontrollably. Now even if she wanted to rely on Jiang Tian, it was too late. She was no longer of any use. No. I must think of a way. I must think of a way to kill Jiang Tian and take back the Jadewell Peak. This crazy idea surged in Chu Yunxiu's mind and couldn't be dismissed. Yes, find him. Only by finding him can we suppress Kang Taichu, and take back the Jadewell Peak. We can even take over the entire Demon Cave Mountain. Suddenly, her eyes lit up as she thought of a terrifying existence that could shake this continent. She was extremely excited. As Jiang Tian and the others finished cleaning up the battlefield, some cultivators and forces who came to help were invited by Jiang Haishan to the Jadewell Peak to pay a visit to Jiang Tian. The other cultivators who were watching the battle couldn't hide their excitement. Suppressing the shock in their hearts, they talked about the details of the battle and left one after another. However, Fairy Miao Yi didn't move for a long time. She stood stiffly on a mountain peak. She looked at the back view of Jiang Tian, who was escorted by many experts with a complicated expression. She wanted to say something but didn't. From the beginning to the end, Jiang Tian didn't even look at her. It was as if she was just a mass of air. Noticing this detail, Fairy Miao Yi's beautiful eyes misted over. She felt wronged and depressed. In fact, since the start of the battle, she had never shown the slightest bit of disrespect or hostility towards Jiang Tian. All she showed was that she was worried. However, the basis of her worry was her suspicion of Jiang Tian's strength. She thought that Jiang Tian didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He's the kind of person who's very proud. What he needs is a woman who can fight side by side with him with determination. But I actually doubted his strength. In his eyes, I must be very laughable. Fairy Miao Yi's heart was filled with mixed feelings. She sighed with reddened eyes and staggered on her flying sword to leave the Jadewell Peak. A few hours later, when the news of the battle in Border City was spread to the outside world through the mouths of many cultivators, it was like a flood breaking the dike and flowing for thousands of miles. The three words Kong Te Chu shook the wilderness and caused the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. The entire heavenly star small world was deeply shocked. Fang Jingqiang is personally leading the battle, and the army of Border City is pressing down. How can a mere ant from Earth and a piece of trash like Jiang Haishan fight against them? Yes, according to some people who have met Kong Te Chu, his cultivation is at the second level of the foundation establishment stage. Second level of the foundation establishment stage. He can't even withstand a single blow. City Lord Fang is making a mountain out of a molehill. He actually sent out a warship and thousands of troops. This is too much of a bully. He's giving them too much face. It's not worth watching. This is a one-sided massacre without any suspense. Fang Jingqiang is going to kill them like killing chickens, right? When they heard about the battle, many people had such an opinion. They were not interested and didn't even bother to go to Jadewell Peak to watch the battle. But when the news came, everyone was stunned and felt as if they had been slapped in the face. How is that possible? Jiang Taichu, an ant from Earth, can actually kill the 8-armed devil god, sweep away 50 warships with one sword, and kill Butcher Fang Jingqiang with one sword. Everyone cried out in alarm. Their voices were hoarse, as if their chrysanthemums had been burst. It must be a rumor. Fang Jingqiang had a pseudo-core cultivation, and was known as the Human Butcher. He was the city lord of a giant city. Not only did he obtain an ancient demonic art inheritance, but he also received personal guidance from Li Longyuan. How could he have been killed by Jiang Taichu's sword? Many people didn't believe it at all. I was on the battlefield at that time. How can it be fake? In a certain mission hall, the leader of the rumbling heaven mercenaries was drunk. When he heard these discussions, he glared with bloodshot eyes and loudly shouted, "Let's go!" This Jiang Taichu's strength has reached an unimaginable level. He's completely crushing the Border City. Whoever dares to be disrespectful to my lord, don't blame me for being merciless. After Fang Jingqiang's army was defeated, only thousands of cultivators and warriors were left to defend Border City. Jiang Tian immediately gave the order to attack the city. Many peak masters and sect masters led their armies forward and swiftly defeated the remnants of the desolate border army, firmly occupying the desolate Border City. The mighty Sky mercenaries also participated in the battle. As soon as these words came out, a group of people were stunned. Hiss. I didn't expect Master Immortal Jiang Taichu to be so strong. He's so terrifying. Everyone was so shocked that they felt as if they had a toothache. The whole place was filled with the sound of people sucking in cold air. Chapter 929. The Crushing Sky mercenary group had always been known for being reliable and trustworthy. Of course he wouldn't lie. That's right. This battle was simply brilliant and full of twists and turns. Immortal Master Concealment was unstoppable. Next to him, the leader of the Flying Rainbow Bounty Hunters, who was hugging two young women from the Spring Fragrance brothel, said calmly. Many chariots and cloud towers were all seized by Kong Taechu. The battle was quite fruitful. We, the Flying Rainbow Bounty Hunters, each received a reward of 1 million low-grade 5 crystal stones. Now Desolate City belongs to Immortal Master Kong Taechu. Chao Meng is the city lord, and the brothers who participated in the battle will all be rewarded. In the future, when I become an official, the position of the chief of the investigation department in Desolate City will be mine. Immortal Master Kong Taechu has already taken over Desolate City. Next to him, an old Chi refinement cultivator's legs trembled. This news was too shocking. This meant that Kong Taechu would lead the Demon Cave Mountain to attack the city and fight to the death with the Heavenly Star Palace. This was an earth-shattering event that would turn the Heavenly Star small world upside down. A young man slammed the table and said excitedly, "Let's do it. Rise up and revolt, work together to achieve great things, and do something big together. Kill Li Longyuan, and take over the Heavenly Star Palace. Brothers, give me a hand." However, the other cultivators remained silent, and remained in a wait-and-see position. A young Taoist muttered, "The Heavenly Star Palace's palace master Li Longyuan is a golden core cultivator. Kong Taechu is an abandoned person from Earth. Even if he's talented, he's limited by resources. I'm afraid he's only a false core cultivator. How can he be a match for Li Longyuan? Not to mention, there are also the Feather Guard and many elders and sections. They're all at the false core level." As soon as this was said, everyone nodded. Kong Taechu could defeat Fang Jingqiang, which was considered very powerful. But compared to Li Longyuan, the difference was too great. Who said that Immortal Master Jiang must be a false core cultivator, and not a golden core cultivator? The leader of the Crushing Heavens mercenaries shouted loudly. Immortal Master Jiang is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime cultivation genius, with unfathomable depths. It's very likely that he will replace Li Longyuan, and become the master of this space. Now, he was already a fanatical fan of Jiang Tian, and he couldn't bear to hear anyone questioning Jiang Tian. What? Kong Taechu is not at the second level of foundation establishment, but at the false core stage, or even higher. This priestess desireless is too ridiculous. It was simply nonsense. This has killed Fang Jingqiang. That's right. If Fang Jingqiang knew about Kong Taechu's true cultivation, he would never have advanced so rashly. You've done a lot of harm. What a jinx. Many people were very depressed after hearing this news, and despised Priestess Desireless. Some of the powerful cultivators who were close to Fang Jingqiang even cursed Priestess Desireless and her 18 generations of ancestors 100 times. When these rumors reached the Heartless sect, Priestess Desireless was also very shocked. She felt as if her face had been slapped swollen. Meowie, is Kong Taechu a false core cultivator? Priestess Desireless' charming face was full of frost as she asked coldly. Meowie pondered for a moment and said with a frown, "Only higher." "How is that possible?" Priestess Desireless smiled contemptuously and said disapprovingly, "My eyes are sharp. Your master's foresight is as clear as fire. Over the past few hundred years, I have never made a mistake. How could I be wrong? Besides, Earth doesn't have the foundation to produce such a powerful cultivator. Even in the ruins of immortality, those supreme deity sects and families, there haven't been many who could reach the false core level before the age of 30 in the past few hundred years. He must have used some kind of secret evil art to forcefully raise his cultivation, but this can't be sustained. Master, Kong Taechu is the most powerful cultivator on Earth, and Li Longyuan is the most powerful cultivator in the Stellar Sky domain. Their fight has nothing to do with the Heartless sect." Meowie thought for a moment and said respectfully, "I think it's best that we don't help either side and stay out of it." Meowie knew that Priestess Desireless had a strange and violent temper. She was unpredictable and hard to predict. She was also very strong-willed, and had never been weaker than anyone. Jiang Tian wanted her to warn Priestess Desireless, but it might cause Priestess Desireless to rebel. How could Miaoi really warn her? Otherwise, Priestess Desireless would explode on the spot and fight with Jiang Tian for 300 rounds. However, Miaoi didn't expect that Priestess Desireless would still be angered by those rumors. Kong Teichu, that little thief, is very sinister. He made me suffer endless curses, saying that I'm blind and that I'm a jinx. Priestess Desireless' eyes shot out flames of anger as she said coldly, I must fight with Kong Teichu and expose his true colors. Let the heroes of the world see exactly how weak he, Jiang Taichu, is. Master, don't. Miaoi turned pale with fright as she hurriedly knelt on the ground and said with tears in her eyes, You have no grudges with Kong Teichu. Why do you have to make him your enemy? If anything happens to him, wouldn't you hurt your loved ones and delight your enemies? He rejected my marriage proposal and embarrassed me and you. Yet you're still pleading for him? Priestess Desireless slammed the table and shouted angrily. The violent airwaves caused Miaoi's delicate body to tremble slightly. Master, Kong Teichu is really strong. You have to think twice before you act. Miaoi begged pitifully. Strong? Even if he's at the second stage foundation establishment realm, he won't last long even if he uses elixirs, evil arts, and secret arts to forcefully raise his cultivation. Priestess Desireless said coldly. Also, who allowed you to watch the battle this time? I heard that you even used the name of the Heartless sect to plead for him in the border city. You sure have guts. You're really mesmerized by this little thief. You even dare to disobey your master's orders. You'll face the wall for a year and not take a single step out of your room. If you dare to do this again, I'll strip you of your cultivation. Miaoi was so scared that her face turned pale. Her beautiful eyes were filled with despair. Even her master was going to make a move. Kong Teichu was really in trouble. Featherguard within 10 days will kill Kong Teichu. As a warning to others. When the news came, the leader of the Heavenly Star Palace's Featherguard immediately announced the news. His battle intent surged, and his arrogance soared into the sky. Many people were shocked when they heard this. The Feather Guard was Li Longyuan's personal guard. There were several false core experts among them. Not only were they powerful, but they were best at hiding, ambushing, and assassinating. They were not like Fang Jingqiang, who fought face to face. With their strength and assassination methods, they could probably kill even a Golden Core expert. At the same time, Wild Wave City, Floating Spear City, and the Giant Sword Sect also declared war on Jiang Tian. 100,000 troops headed straight for the border cities and Demon Cave Mountain. Jiang Tian had been cultivating for 10,000 years and had conquered countless planets. He was very familiar with marching, fighting, and arranging troops. He quickly arranged everything properly. In the border cities, Elder Chao Meng was the city lord, and the peak lords of the other Mount Everest were the leaders of the various armies. However, Jiang Tian had signed a divine soul contract with the peak lords. They immediately became loyal to Jiang Tian, treating Jiang Tian as a god. Those who had passed the inspection and were capable and loyal to the Barren City Garrison Army were restored to their posts. Those stubborn interest groups were executed on the spot. As for the soldiers at the bottom, they did not support Li Longyuan and the Heavenly Star Palace at all. It could even be said that they hated them. As long as these high-ranking generals led them, they would definitely fulfill their duties and kill the enemy. As the saying goes, Lu Nanwei is not dead. To Jiang Tian, he did not care about the gains and losses of the cities and pools. His goal was to kill Li Longyuan. He did not care much about the border cities. They were just a line of defense for Jadewell Peak and Jinsong Peak. After all, Jiang Tian sincerely supported him. Jiang Tian could not let them suffer. At this time, Jiang Haishan, Jiang Yunhe, and many other members of the volunteer army had already treated Jiang Tian like a god. The scene of Jiang Tian fighting 10,000 alone and destroying the city with one sword really made them admire Jiang Tian to the extreme. Jiang Tian, who was at the center of the storm, was surprisingly calm. After defeating the 10,000 cultivators of the border cities, Jiang Tian stayed at Jadewell Peak and guided Xiaoying Luo, the old dragon, and Yi Tianren in their cultivation. He also refined pills to help them break through. Since setting foot on the heavenly star small world, Yi Tianren's cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. It was almost a realm in a few days. According to Jiang Tian's guidance, he entered the Tao with martial arts, transformed his true qi into true essence, and quickly advanced to the late stage of foundation establishment. After all, Yi Tianren was originally the #1 person in Wuxia 100 years ago. He had the strength of the third level of foundation establishment, and was extremely talented. It was only because the spirit qi on earth was too thin that he was unable to break through. Now there were many great medicines, pills, and spirit qi like rain and mist. With Jiang Tian's guidance, he was like a fish in water. In addition, Jiang Tian was busy rummaging through the treasury of Jade Well Peak every day. He turned the treasury of Jade Well Peak upside down and found mini qi dragon tendons, phoenix feathers, golden crystal threads of frost iron, refined red copper, taihao wood, cloud end grass, and other natural treasures. These natural treasures belonged to treasures from thousands of years ago. They were priceless and extremely rare. Seeing Jiang Tian pierce through layers of disguises and break through layers of restrictions to find all these things, Chu Yunxia was so angry that she wanted to vomit blood. These were the treasures at the bottom of Jade Well Peak. They were the painstaking accumulation of their ancestors for generations. And now they were all taken by Jiang Tian. "Brother Jiang, why are you looking for these?" Xiao Yingluo asked with a smile. Now, she had already started cultivating. Her comprehension and physique were very good, and she had already laid the foundation of the second level of qi refinement. She had a bit of water immortal qi, which made her seem even more clever and cute. Next to her, Chu Yunxia was battered and exhausted. A featherless phoenix was worse than a chicken. Star crown, feather robe, and cloud shoes. In any case, we are people of status. We have to have some clothes to show off. Jiang Tian touched her little head and said with a smile, "Since you have a certain foundation in refining, I'll draw and you can weave and cut if you want to help." "Of course, that's no problem. I'm very good at making Dharma artifacts and Dharma clothes. You can give me a set," Xiao Yingluo said with a smile. "Okay. You just have to put in the effort. I promise I'll give you a beautiful set," Jiang Tian said with a smile. "Kong Teichu, you ant from Earth, you'd better let me go quickly and make me the Demon Cave Mountain Master." Chu Yunxia was so angry that her face turned pale, and she shouted angrily. Even when she was the daughter of the Peak Master, she didn't have the chance to touch these treasures. Now she was making clothes for this bitch. Chapter 930. Slap. Xiao Yingluo raised her hand and slapped her, causing her to stagger. She shouted angrily, "Bitch, who gave you the courage to be so impudent to my brother Jiang? Even Fong Jingqiang lost to my brother Jiang. Who do you think you are? You think my brother Jiang can't bear to kill you because you're beautiful." Actually, she was a little worried. Why did big brother Jiang spare her lowly life? Could it be that he had taken a fancy to her? "Kong Teichu, if you have the guts, release my restriction. I'll kill this bitch." Chu Yunxiu shouted with tears in her eyes. "Come Yingluo, we're going to start." Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered with her. He drew a sketch and the decorations on the feather robe, star crown, and cloud shoes and started to get busy. Whoosh! Jiang Tian flicked his finger. He used the all-creation spiritual technique to refine weapons. The surging power fell on the golden crystal iron and shrouded it. Suddenly, the golden crystal iron continued to extend, becoming thinner and longer. The originally lumpy golden crystal iron became thinner than silk, and was even close to the mustard seed level. It was almost invisible. The thickness of silk was 1 strand, but there were also strands thinner than silk, such as Hu Miao Chun Ai, Mo, and mustard seed. Jiang Tian used the all-creation spiritual technique to change the material form and roughly stretch the golden crystal iron to the Mo level. Then he folded it and tempered it thousands of times. He also branded it with all kinds of strange and small talismans, making it extremely soft and slender. This is the strongest golden crystal iron, but it can be pulled into a silk thread. Chu Yunxia was stunned and couldn't believe it. Even if she hated Jiang Tian, She had to admit that Jiang Tian's refining skills were unprecedented. At least, it had never appeared in the heavenly star small world. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and weave cloth for me. Jiang Tianfei raised his leg and kicked Chu Yunxiu several meters away. She's used to being a missy. She's too lazy and can't differentiate between the 4 limbs and the 5 grains. I suspect she doesn't know how to needlework. Xiao Yingluo added, using her true essence to control the threads of the golden crystal iron, making them float in the air. This tyrant, this demon king, will be killed sooner or later. Let's see how long you can be so arrogant. Chu Yunxiu gnashed her teeth in hatred. She wanted nothing more than to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. But under Jiang Tian's tyranny, he could only crawl up and cooperate with Xiao Yingluo to control the golden crystal iron threads, weaving them into cloth. Then Jiang Tian performed the spiritual art of creation again, and stretched the Qi dragon's tendons until they were thin and long. He refined them again and again. Finally, he wove them together with the phoenix's feathers into a feather cloak. This feather robe was truly extravagant and noble. Chu Yunxiu was dumbfounded. Her beautiful eyes lit up. One must know that ordinary feather clothes were usually made of golden silk and red-crowned crane feathers. Sometimes, it was just ordinary white crane feathers and silk. They were just for show. But this one was made of Qi dragon's tendons, golden crystal iron, and hundreds of phoenix feathers. Not to mention the effort involved, the speed and attack enhancement, as well as the protective talismans. Just these raw materials alone were priceless. Then Jiang Tian began to forge the star crown. Jiang Tian found a large furnace and put in many flaming crystals that could burn at high temperatures. He heated the red copper essence until it turned red. After refining and cold quenching, he first forged a dozen hammers. Then, Jiang Tian swung one of the hammers at the rest of the red copper essence. Clang, clang, clang. Clang. Large clusters of sparks erupted between the iron hammer and the iron felt. The rumbling sound lingered in the air, like the ancient bell of an ancient temple, shaking everyone's eardrums to the point of buzzing. Yingluo, take a rest. Bashan, come and forge. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Xiao Yingluo and Chu Yunxiu retreated together. Okay. Xiao Bashan came up eagerly. The 49 Chaos Gale hammer technique that Jiang Tian had taught him appeared in his mind. He swung the hammer according to the blueprint that Jiang Tian had provided and smashed it on the red copper essence. Oh my god! Brother Jiang is so awesome. This is not only a way to forge weapons, but also a way to cultivate. As he struck, Xiao Bashan felt the true essence in his body constantly surging, condensing and vigorous. He couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder and hit with more vigor. Suddenly, Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped Chu Yunxiu again. He shouted angrily, slacking off. Did I tell you to back off? Didn't you see so many hammers? Should I have prepared a few for you? Chu Yunxiu's nose was bleeding from the slap, and tears of grievance and resentment welled up in her eyes. But under the tyranny of the great demon king, she could only follow Jiang Tian's instructions and start swinging the hammer. But after a while, she was panting and sweating profusely. She frowned and said, "Why is this hammer so heavy? It's at least a few thousand pounds. I added a gravity talisman. What did you think?" Jiang Tian swung the hammer faster and faster, matching the rhythm of his breathing and heartbeat. It was very rhythmic. In the end, he took off his clothes, revealing a jade-like upper body full of strength and crystal clear. He was sweating profusely. His hammer couldn't be seen clearly anymore. It turned into a black light and covered the whole iron felt. So beautiful. Xiao Yingluo's eyes widened and her saliva almost flowed out. She didn't know if it was because of Jiang Tian's figure or because of his forging skills. Suddenly, all the movements stopped abruptly. A bald sledgehammer was thrown out. The head of the hammer turned red, as if it had just been smelted at a high temperature, and was still emitting a scorching aura. Change the hammer! Jiang Tian shouted. Ah, it's coming! Only then did Xiao Yingluo react. Because of Jiang Tian's high frequency of impact and forging, the head of the hammer had been seriously worn and raised to a very high temperature. It couldn't be used anymore. She couldn't help but admire Jiang Tian to the extreme. It was simply amazing. Not to mention her family's divine craftsman hall. Even the top and famous forging halls in Heavenly Star Small World, such as Hammerhead Castle and Xiaoshu Building, were simply rubbish compared to Jiang Tian. Taking the new hammer from Qiaoying Luo, Jiang Tian weighed it, and then blasted it out with a bang. After a day and a night of forging, the 10 hammers were all worn out, and the forging continued. Finally, it's done. A hint of joy flashed in Jiang Tian's eyes. There was a pile of extremely delicate parts on the iron felt. There were hundreds of them, exuding a strange golden luster. Jiang Tian's heart moved. With a few light sounds, these parts automatically floated in the air, and then meshed with each other as if they were alive, turning into a glittering golden star crown. There were 7 stars on this star crown. Each star could be separated from the star crown and turned into an attack. It was very sharp and could be retracted. In addition, the star crown contained more than 900 small components that could be deformed at will. It could even instantly turn into a helmet to cover the face and defend against attacks from any direction. Above the 7 peaks of the crown, 7 long golden hooks could be extended. They were extremely sharp, like knives and hooks. They were connected to the star crown by interlocking golden chains, but they were very soft and could lock others. This was not only a star crown, but also an attack magic weapon. Later, with the cooperation of several people, Jiang Tian used the Taihao wood as the base, the dragon tendons, cold iron, and golden crystal threads to weave, inlaid with many 6 crystal stones, and sacrificially refined with the essence of the cloud grass several times to make a pair of glittering cloud shoes. According to Jiang Tian, as long as one put on the cloud shoes, even an ordinary person could breathe his last and fly to the sky. As for those foundation stage cultivators, they would be doomed if they wore them. They would have to go to the sky or even cross the universe. After Jiang Tian finished all this, even though Chu Yunxiu didn't have much knowledge in refining, she had to admit that this set of star crown, feathery coat, and cloud shoes could absolutely be called a first-class magic weapon on this continent. Even if Li Longyuan saw it, he would probably love it too much to put it down. I didn't expect that under this starry sky, there would be such a marvelous refining method. At this time, she unexpectedly felt a kind of joy of creation. She was incomparably full and happy. She even felt a surge of gratitude towards Jiang Tian. She was grateful that Jiang Tian had shown her a brand new world. Suddenly, she came to her senses. Her face, which had been slapped by Jiang Tian, became even redder, as if it was dripping blood. She secretly scolded herself. Chu Yunxiu, what's wrong with you today? She wanted nothing more than to slap herself. You're really so cheap. He tortured and humiliated you every day, and even crippled father's cultivation and seized Jadewell Peak, but you're actually grateful to him. You're grinding your teeth? Jiang Tian used a dust-clearing talisman to wash off the dust on his body. He suddenly sneered and said, "You're scolding me, right?" No. Chu Yunxiu hurriedly covered her face. But it was already too late. Pa! Jiang Tian slapped her and sent her tumbling to the ground. You can scold me in your heart. In any case, I can't hear you, but I can hit you. Chu Yunxiu was almost driven mad by Jiang Tian. She danced with joy, gnashing her teeth and saying, Kong Teichu, you've gone too far. You're practically not human, you're a demon. You'll die a horrible death. Ha, demon? A horrible death? Jiang Tian mocked slightly. What nonsense are you talking about? My big brother Jiang is a great person. He's going to save this world. Qiaoying Luo said seriously. No, I'm a demon. Jiang Tian took the tea from the stinky monkey and took a sip. He chuckled and said, But Chu Yunxiu, haven't you heard that good people don't live long, bad people live for thousands of years? Chu Yunxiu's face was covered in dust. She gnashed her teeth in hatred, but she was afraid of Jiang Tian's brutality and didn't dare to refute. However, that afternoon, Jiang Tian was meditating cross-legged. Suddenly, Chu Yunxiu walked in arrogantly. Haha, Kong Teichu, you're finished. At this time, Chu Yunxiu seemed to be a different person. She was in high spirits, full of confidence and proud. She had regained her long-lost sense of superiority. I'm finished? Jiang Tian slowly opened his eyes and chuckled. That's right, you're about to die. Chu Yunxiu stuck out her full chest, full of disdain and ridicule. You think you're strong and domineering by occupying Demon Cave Mountain? You think you're capable by killing the blue-eyed toad? You think you're invincible in this starry sky just because you killed Fang Jingqiang? Her face was full of disdain and she shouted mockingly. No, you're still far from it. You have no idea how terrifying and powerful some existences in this world are. They're not something you can compare to. Chapter 931. Who? Is there anyone I can't humiliate? Li Longyuan. Bah, let him come over. I'll beat him until he's looking for his teeth on the ground. Jiang Tian mocked. Li Longyuan? How can Li Longyuan be considered the #1 expert in this starry sky? Her face was full of mockery, and then she said harshly, You're too ignorant. It's Bai Zhe, Demon King Bai Zhe, the famous Demon King Bai Zhe of Crimson Thunder Mountain. Jiang Tian seemed to show a hint of surprise. Seeing Jiang Tian's cocky deadpan face finally change color, Chu Yunxiu seemed to have won a great victory. From beginning to end, Jiang Tian's face was always like an ancient well without a trace of panic, nervousness, anger, or fear. It was as if nothing in this world could move Jiang Tian. Even if the sky collapsed and the earth sank, even if the stars fell, it would not cause the slightest ripple in his heart. Chu Yunxiu thought carefully and felt that Jiang Tian was not a young man at all, but an old monster with a lifespan of 10,000 years. Now Jiang Tian was finally afraid. Although he was not afraid of her, she was still very pleased with herself. You Kong Te Chu actually have times when you're afraid. I'm really surprised. You should have been afraid long ago. But you're too stupid. You killed his mount, the blue-eyed toad. Do you think he won't find trouble with you? Her gaze was sharp, her voice was cold, sonorous like the sound of a sword, powerful and resonant. Don't you know the news of Demon King Bai Zhe's reappearance? You know, but you underestimated your enemy too much, too arrogant. You didn't know how to run away, and still forcibly occupied my Jadewell Peak. You're courting death. Just a few days ago, after your battle with Fang Jingqiang, I secretly released one of Bai Zhe's subordinates that I captured at Jadewell Peak. Moreover, I had him return to Crimson Thunder Mountain to send a message that you were the murderer of the blue-eyed toad. Demon King Bai Zhe's follower just sent me a message. I'm now his disciple and servant girl. Moreover, Bai Zhe wants me to tell you to immediately hand Demon Cave Mountain over to him and submit to him. Then, go to Crimson Thunder Mountain to beg for forgiveness and await punishment. She seemed to have regained her long-lost sense of superiority, as if she was still the high and mighty miss of Jadewell Peak. You'd better treat me better. Treat you better? Jiang Tian said with a smile. Demon King Bai Zhe, I might need to be vigilant, but I don't think I need to be afraid of you. Do you think that I won't dare to hit you just because you're a servant? Pa. Jiang Tian slapped her to the ground again. Chu Yunxiu fell to the ground, her face twitching violently. She was going crazy. She hated Jiang Tian to the core. He had never imagined that he would still be unable to suppress Jiang Tian with the name of Demon King Bai Zhe. He would still be humiliated by Jiang Tian. But you've reminded me. Jiang Tian put his hands behind his back and smiled calmly. At this time, I don't need to make too many enemies. I'll send you to Demon King Bai Zhe with this set of star crown feather coat and cloud-chasing shoes as compensation for killing his mount. Haha, you're still afraid, aren't you? You're afraid of my Demon King Bai Zhe. You're begging for mercy. Chu Yunxiu was stunned, then laughed maniacally. After all, he's the only demon above the golden core realm in this starry sky. Li Longyuan, 100 of you, are no match for the Demon King. She was full of mockery and crazily belittled Jiang Tian. In front of him, you're like an ant that can't even withstand a single blow. He can kill you with a raise of his hand. Haha, you're afraid. You're finally afraid. He won't forgive you just because of this. I heard that he's very proud and likes to humiliate his opponents and make them lick his toes. Haha, I'm really looking forward to that scene. Haha, I Kong Te Chu have never been weaker than anyone in my life. Jiang Tian flung his sleeves and sneered. My original plan was to kill Li Longyuan, and then fight with Demon King Baizhe. But since you said so, why should I wait any longer? I won't give you this set of Taoist robes and crown. I'll kill my way to Crimson Thunder Mountain and cut off his dog head. Don't. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you right now. Chu Yunxiu was shocked and hurriedly waved her hand. This set of star-crown feather coat and cloud-chasing shoes had unfathomable abilities and was priceless. If she gave it to him, Demon King Baizhe would definitely like it and reward her handsomely. One had to know that Great Demon Baizhe had already gathered 100,000 demon soldiers under his command. There were as many experts and disciples as there were clouds. Now that she had joined them, she was just one of them who didn't reveal her true strength. Moreover, back then, the peaks of Demon Cave Mountain had fought many battles with the demon beasts on Crimson Thunder Mountain. The Chu family had killed many demon beasts. She was bound to be ostracized and suppressed by these demon beasts. Then she had to fight for his favor. She thought to herself. When the time came, she would say that she worked hard to make it. Demon King Master would definitely dote on her a lot. Then she would truly be able to stand firm. In order to prevent you from embezzling it and running away, Heavenly Man and Old Dragon, you two go with me and pass on my message to Demon King Baizhe. Jiang Tian instructed again. Yes. Yi Tianren and Old Dragon hurriedly answered. This little thief is really cunning. Chu Yunxiu was so angry that her teeth itched. But in the next moment, she changed her mind. It didn't matter. Yi Tianren was his disciple. And this black dog was actually a big dragon. It could be considered giving him a head and a mount. Master would definitely like it more. Just like that. Yi Tianren and Old Dragon put on the feather coat, star crown and cloud-chasing shoes and rushed to Crimson Thunder Mountain with Chu Yunxiu. The next day, Jiang Tian had just finished his meditation. Ding Ling Dang, on the other hand, had disguised herself and secretly arrived at Jade Well Peak on a flying shuttle. She represented Ding Lai to discuss the next step with Jiang Tian. Immortal Master Jiang, you're really too domineering. One sword to break 10,000 soldiers, one sword to destroy a city. Ding Ling Dang was dressed neatly like a female thief. She tore off the black cloth covering her face and looked at Jiang Tian with excitement and admiration. Unfortunately, my father caught me and didn't let me come to help you. He was afraid that I would be exposed. Ding Ling Dang said bitterly. Otherwise, as the one who experienced this battle, I would definitely be able to brag about it for the rest of my life. Jiang Tian looked at the map of the Heavenly Star Small World and said with a smile, City Lord Ding is right. Star Capital is right under the Heavenly Star Palace. Once it's exposed, your Ding family will be in great danger. Moreover, after I kill Li Longyuan, you still have to play an important role. You have to seize the dojo, detain the enemy, and pacify the civilians. It's not good to be exposed at this time. Immortal Master Jiang, are you really confident that you can kill Li Longyuan? Ding Lingdong's pretty face changed and she said worriedly, I'm here this time to convey my father's opinion. He thinks that we don't need to be too hasty. We should use the border city as our base, fight steadily, build high walls, accumulate food, and slowly become the king. After 10 years, we will gather tens of thousands of cultivators and destroy it in one fell swoop. What do you think? Jiang Tian said with a smile. Ding Lingdang was stunned and said in surprise, Immortal Master Jiang, are you asking me for my opinion? Yes. My opinion is, of course, to kill him without caring about anything else. Ding Lingdang was so proud that her face turned red with excitement. However, the next moment she sighed and said, However, although it's fun, it's not very safe. Li Longyuan's cultivation is unfathomable. Haha, your father is experienced and prudent. This arrangement is not wrong. Jiang Tian stood up, paced around the hall, and said with a smile. However, he doesn't know what I'm capable of. He's just a golden core cultivator. What's there to be afraid of? Li Longyuan is nothing. I can kill him with a raise of my hand. Immortal Master Jiang, please think twice before you act. At the side, Jiang Haishan was shocked and hesitated to speak. It was already unbelievable that Jiang Tian could kill a fake core cultivator. However, he dared to face Li Longyuan directly. He didn't even take a golden core cultivator seriously. He was underestimating his enemy too much. Jiang Tian smiled but didn't say anything. At this moment, Ding Lingdang said with a troubled expression, "Immortal Master Jiang, I have a presumptuous request." "Speak. Can you not make things difficult for Lady Merciless Desire?" Ding Lingdang said anxiously with a pleading expression. "Lady Merciless Desire taught me cultivation before. Also, she hates evil. She's not a bad person. Haha, I heard that she has already announced to the world that she wants to challenge me." Jiang Tian smiled and shook his head. His eyes flickered with a hint of murderous intent. Lady Merciless Desire really made people feel helpless. If one said that she was bad, she was definitely not an evil person. In fact, she was once the leader of the rebel army. However, perhaps because she hadn't been nourished by a man for a long time, her menopause symptoms had flared up. Her personality was too extreme and self-centered. Just because he rejected the marriage alliance with Fairy Miao Yi, she walked to the opposite side. "Immortal Master Jiang, I beg you please show mercy." Sensing Jiang Tian's murderous intent, Ding Lingdang knelt on the ground and kowtowed as if she was pounding garlic. "She taught me swordsmanship and helped the Ding family defeat the enemy. The Ding family owes her a debt of gratitude. If you kill her, my father and I will be at a loss." It turned out that more than 10 years ago, when the Ding family was traveling, a certain sect took revenge on them. More than 10 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators joined forces to kill them. At that time, Ding Lai was no match for them at all. Just as he was about to die, Lady Merciless Desire happened to pass by and helped, defeating the enemy with one strike. Since then, the Ding family and Heartless sect had a close relationship. Ding Lingdang even became Lady Merciless Desire's in-name disciple. "Immortal Master Jiang, if you don't agree, I won't get up. I'll keep kneeling," Ding Lingdang said anxiously with tears rolling down her cheeks. "Forget it, I won't argue with her. I won't fight with her. Get up." Jiang Tian pondered for a while, and said indifferently. It didn't matter if Jiang Tian killed Lady Merciless Desire, but Ding Lai would become the laughingstock of the world. His benefactor had been killed by Jiang Tian. Not only did he not take revenge for his benefactor, but he even respected Jiang Tian. What kind of man was he? Besides, although Lady Merciless Desire had a strange temper, she wasn't a bad person. She was enemies with Jiang Tian because of personal grudges. She didn't have any conflicts with Jiang Tian, nor was she an evil person. "Thank you, Immortal Master Jiang." Ding Lingdang smiled through her tears. At this moment, a series of curses came from outside the door. "Kong Teichu, you're just fishing for fame. Come out and fight me if you have the guts." Although it was a woman's voice, it was like a thunderclap that shook the entire Jadewell Peak, causing the ground to tremble and the mountains to shake. Jiang Tian frowned. Ding Lingdang's expression also changed as she said with a trembling voice, "It's Lady Merciless Desire." Chapter 932. Don't show yourself. There are too many people around. Find a chance to sneak back to Star Capital. Jiang Tian smiled faintly, then rose into the air and arrived outside Jadewell Peak. Lady Desireless was standing on her flying sword and blocking the entrance of Jadewell Peak. She was so angry that her face was red and she was gritting her teeth. Not only was she here, but there were also thousands of cultivators on the other peaks watching. There were many sect masters and leaders of aristocratic families among them. Although she was alone, the number of powerful cultivators she had alarmed was no less than Fang Jingqiang's army at the border. "Kong Teichu, I heard that you're a pseudo-core cultivator. I won't be bullying you. Draw your sword." Lady Desireless heard countless people mocking and ridiculing her along the way. She couldn't help but be furious. When she saw that Jiang Tian was still at the second level of the Foundation establishment realm, she was so angry that her eyes turned red. "I won't fight you." Jiang Tian waved his hand and said, "You have to fight me." Lady Desireless glared and said hatefully, "Because of you, I've won thousands of battles and been despised by the world. Today, I Desolation will let the world see whether I Desolation have misjudged you or not. Are you Jiang Taichu, a fake core cultivator?" Her voice was like a clap of thunder. Her monstrous battle array and the solemn dignity of a sect master were only higher than Fang Jingxiang's. I'm going to break your mask, you little thief. I want you to understand that you're still an ant, just a slightly bigger one. Her words were full of humiliation. In an instant, all the cultivators watching the battle became excited and looked up. Kang Teichu was so domineering. He defeated an army of 10,000 cultivators alone and destroyed a city with his sword. How could he tolerate Lady Desireless humiliating him like that? A great battle was about to break out. Okay. Then I'll fight you. Let's stop here. At this moment, Jiang Tian was also a little angry. He wouldn't kill her, but he could at least press her to the ground and rub her a few times, right? However, at this moment, Jiang Tian suddenly heard a voice in his mind. Master, this is bad. We're in trouble. If Bai Zhe turns against me, I can't beat him. Come save us. It was the old dragon sending a message to Jiang Tian through the soul-devouring sound-transmitting jade talisman that Jiang Tian had left on him. Don't be hasty. Fight while you retreat. I'll save you now. Jiang Tian frowned and hurriedly said, Miayu, let's not fight today. I still have things to do. I'll take my leave first. With that, Jiang Tian's figure turned into a stream of light, breaking through the air at an unparalleled speed. Just as Desire Extinguisher unleashed his sword, Jiang Tian's figure disappeared. She couldn't help but feel like she had punched cotton. Kang Teichu, are you making fun of me? Miayu took back his flying sword hatefully. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. You're running pretty fast. What kind of hero are you for running away at the last minute? Today, tell me in front of everyone, are you really at the second level of Foundation establishment? Did I misjudge you? Goddess Miayu's eyes are as sharp as torches. That's right, I'm at the second level of Foundation establishment. I'm the real deal. Jiang Tian's voice pierced through the clouds and mountains. But Desire Extinguisher, remember what I said today. You'll know my true strength sooner or later. My strength is not something you can compare to. It's not even something you can imagine. You'll also be grateful to me for running away at the last minute today. You won't embarrass yourself and can still live for a few more years. Bah! You shameless little thief. Desire Extinguisher was so angry that he scolded sternly. Then you also have to remember my words. You rely on secret techniques and pills to forcefully increase your combat strength. It's only temporary. You have to know that cultivation is the foundation in the fight for the great Tao. You're quite talented. If you cultivate for 100 years, you might have a chance to see the truth of the golden core. But you're too weak in this world full of powerful cultivators. You'll soon face a disaster. I advise you to hurry back to Earth. Everyone didn't hear Jiang Tian's reply again. They couldn't help but be stunned and couldn't believe it. What? Kang Teichu is really at the second level of Foundation establishment? Someone exclaimed. He admitted it himself. How can it be fake? A cultivator next to him interrupted. No matter what secret techniques, evil techniques or pills he uses to increase his cultivation, it will eventually backfire on him. A wise man shook his head and sighed. Old man, look, Kang Teichu's Dantian is lifeless and there's no energy fluctuation. He's already at the end of his rope. I'm afraid he can't hold on for much longer. Haha, even if he's really a fake core cultivator, he's not Li Longyuan's opponent, let alone an early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator? Not to mention that his Dantian was damaged. A sect leader in the crowd said coldly, his eyes full of disdain. At the side, many sect leaders and family heads nodded in agreement, but they were very disappointed. The difference between a golden core cultivator and a Foundation establishment cultivator was like the difference between heaven and earth. A golden core overlord was already called a perfected immortal. The so-called immortal masters of the Foundation establishment level couldn't compare. That was just a title. As for the Sky Immortals, Earth Immortals and Human Immortals on Earth, that was just a classification on Earth. In fact, their power was equivalent to 3 levels of the early stage of the Foundation establishment level, which was a far cry from a golden core overlord. A golden core overlord could control the world and had unpredictable divine powers. They could turn land into rivers and move mountains. In many level 4 small worlds, a golden core cultivator could dominate and control a realm. Even in some small cultivation planets in the universe, a golden core cultivator was the supreme being and could control a planet. At first, everyone had a glimmer of hope for Jiang Tian when they came to watch the battle. They wanted to guess Jiang Tian's power and decide which side they were on. But now, it seemed that Jiang Tian was only at the second level of the Foundation establishment level, and was at the end of his life. How could he be Li Longyuan's opponent? Kong Teichu was just a human from Earth. It was impossible for him to break the old world and overthrow the Starry Sky Palace. Goddess Merciless Desire challenged Kong Teichu. Kong Teichu didn't dare to accept the challenge and ran away. Kong Teichu admitted that he's at the second level of the Foundation establishment level. Many of Jiang Tian's original supporters woke up as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over them. What should we do? He's only at the second level of the Foundation establishment level, and used evil arts to increase his power. Madame Shi, the sect leader of the Snake Sect, froze as if she had been struck by lightning. She had high hopes for Jiang Tian at first. But now, those fantasies were like sand castles, smashed into smithereens by monstrous waves. I was too reckless after all. Master Yuanjing, the head abbot of the Sanskrit temple, regretted it. He then walked toward Abbot Pudu of the demon-suppressing temple, and bowed with his hands together. Master Pudu, since we're all disciples of the Buddhist sect, can you put in a good word for us in front of the Starry Sky Palace? We were all forced by Kong Teichu. Master Yuanjing, don't be nervous. This battle won't happen. Abbot Pudu of the demon-suppressing temple, who was wearing a brocade cassock, suddenly stepped out of the crowd on a 5-colored golden lotus, and chanted Buddha's name. Kong Teichu is extremely talented. It wasn't easy for him to cultivate, but his dantian and meridians were damaged because he took pills to increase his power. His power is about to dissipate. I'll help him treat his injuries. Master Pudu is really trying to save the world. He's actually going to help such a fiend. Someone looked at this senior monk and immediately revealed a look of admiration. The difference between the demon-suppressing temple and the Sanskrit temple was obvious. The Sanskrit temple only wanted to survive. On the other hand, the demon-suppressing temple was thinking for the world. As expected of one of the 3 major sects, the holy land of the Buddhist sect, Master Pudu slayed demons and defended the path of righteousness. He had once walked the world with Buddha's light. He cured the poor and advised people to do good, avoiding the countless killings and hatred in the world. In the entire Heavenly Star small world, Master Pudu's prestige was very high. He was a good person and a senior monk. Master Pudu, are you really going to treat his injuries? Won't that bring chaos to the star small world? Won't that make the world your enemy? Rumble. A tall and dignified figure stepped out, pushing out a monstrous wave of air that shook the heavens and the earth. This person's armor was bright, and his aura was vigorous. His white battle robe fluttered like a flag, and his aura was actually on par with Desireless. It was the floating spear city lord, the heavenly star war god Shintij. At this moment, his handsome face was full of anger. He was obviously extremely dissatisfied with Master Pudu's actions. Behind Master Pudu's head, Golden Buddha's light formed a ring. He looked solemn and kind as he put his palms together and said unhurriedly, General Shun, I'll treat his injuries, but I also want to establish good karma with him. I'll persuade Kong Teichu to convert to the demon-suppressing temple and bury the hatchet with the Heavenly Star Palace. I'll help the people under the starry sky avoid conflict and disaster. Isn't this the best of both worlds? This Kong Teichu is really lucky. Master Pudu is willing to accept him as a disciple. His life will be saved. Master Pudu, aren't you afraid of offending the Heavenly Star Palace? Some experts were also a little worried. The demon-suppressing temple accepting Kong Teichu as a disciple was equivalent to protecting him. Li Longyuan and the Heavenly Star Palace would definitely be unhappy. Shintij flung his sleeves and sneered with killing intent. Master Pudu, I won't stop you if you're such a good person. However, if you don't distinguish between right and wrong, I'm afraid everyone in the heavenly star domain will hate you to the core. You have to consider this carefully. Yes, that Kong Techu has always been shameless. Pudu, be careful of doing bad things with good intentions. Desireless also advised. Haha, how can everything in the world go according to one's wishes? I'm just doing good deeds. I don't care about the results. I just want to have a clear conscience. Master Pudu's face was solemn as he smiled. Master Pudu, the Buddhist doctrine is really boundless and merciful. You're indeed an eminent monk. I'm ashamed that my realm is far from yours. After this matter is over, I'll go to the demon-suppressing temple to study Buddhism for 10 years. I hope you won't refuse. The abbot of the Sanskrit temple, Yuan Jing, immediately looked ashamed. He bowed deeply to Master Pudu to show his greatest respect. Since I'm a believer of the Buddhist sect, I naturally have the world in my heart. Persuading people to do good is my unshirkable responsibility. Master Pudu sighed softly. He stepped on the 5-colored golden lotus and led many eminent monks, arhats, guardians, vajras, and disciples to chase after Jiang Tian. Chapter 933. Master, Kong Techu is very powerful and murderous. I'm afraid he won't listen to your advice, much less convert to the demon suppression temple. Zen Master Deshin caught up to Pudu and whispered with a frown. Haha, although he's talented, he's only at the 2nd stage of the foundation establishment realm. His cultivation is low, and his dantian is lifeless. Do you think he dares to fight me? Master Pudu's splendid kasaya was surrounded by Buddhist light and auspicious clouds. He shook his head gently and snorted. Secondly, he has no other choice. Now several big cities and many sects want to attack him. How can he hold on? Thirdly, I'm using the righteousness of the common people to pressure him. How can he dare to refute? Otherwise, he'll be despised by the world. So, with these 3 points, he won't dare to fall out with the demon suppression temple, even if he has 100 guts. Master, back then Jiang Taichu also saved this disciple. Can you not force him to do this? Zen Master Deshin looked helpless and could only persuade. What do you know? I'm working hard for the Demon Suppression Temple's 100-year plan, and for the safety of the Stellar Sky domain. Master Pudu snorted and said unhappily. Jiang Tian had just flown to the Red Thunder Mountain when Xiao Yingluo followed him on the giant eagle. Big brother Jiang, I'll go with you. Okay. Xiaobai, go back. Get on my flying sword. Jiang Tian raised his hand, and his vital essence burst out, taking Xiao Yingluo over. Then, he took her on his flying sword and flew as fast as lightning to the Red Thunder Mountain where the spirit energy tide was the fiercest. In this place, the Crimson Thunder Mountain was not as steep and precipitous as the 7 main peaks. However, it was still 10,000 meters high and 30 kilometers long. It was like a huge dragon lying on the ground, giving people a majestic and vigorous feeling. In the sky, the spirit energy miasma formed a huge vortex due to the gravity array and the imbalance of the spirit energy cycle, rolling endlessly. Endless majestic spirit energy and energy tore, collided, swallowed, and entangled, covering the sky and leaving a large shadow on the ground. Here, it was as if there was no boundary between day and night. Because of the unstable force field, the colorful clouds formed by the spirit energy and miasma erupted like tornadoes, forming enormous pillars of air that were thousands of meters tall. They rolled and spun non-stop, flowing between the mountain ridges, dissipating, and then condensing again. Thousands of changes occurred in an instant. As the numerous air pillars violently rubbed against each other, they formed thick bolts of crimson lightning. Like a descending azure dragon, they bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they blasted towards the crimson lightning mountain. Torrential rain poured down, and the world was in chaos. Demonic plants that were rarely seen in the outside world could be found all over the endless mountains. Nourished by the miasma and spiritual energy, they had all grown to enormous sizes. Even a stalk of grass was taller than a person, and its edges were covered with chilling sawteeth. Under the illumination of the red lightning, it emitted a demonic glow. In the dense forest, the roars of demonic beasts could be heard. shaking people's skulls to the point that they felt like they were going to explode. Whoosh! Whoosh! A gigantic scaled bird flapped its 20-meter-long wings and soared into the sky. Between its claws, it grabbed a 30-meter-long python. Blood gushed out like a fountain. Such a storm of spiritual energy, such spiritual energy lightning, and such dangerous demonic beasts could be said to be the most dangerous place in the demonic cave mountain. The cultivators of the demonic cave mountain called it the Dark Absolute Prison. Even late Foundation establishment cultivators and battle-hardened bounty hunters did not dare to approach it easily. Even the Heavenly Star Palace rarely sent troops to attack it. Instead, they let the bandits and refugees of the demonic cave mountain serve as free cannon fodder. Swoosh! Under the crazy sky, 2 streaks of light, one black and one white, flashed across the dark mountain ridges, only to be struck by 2 even faster streaks of light. Pa! 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 Yi Tianren and the old dragon staggered and rolled on the ground. They looked at the 2 colossal beings and Chu Yunxiu who were slowly approaching them. Chu Yunxiu laughed proudly. Haha, you still want to run? You humiliated me again and again. Now you're done for. Blackie, I'm going to chop you into pieces and make a dog head hot pot. At this moment, the old dragon and Yi Tianren were not in good condition. They were chased and intercepted by hundreds of demonic beasts. After running for dozens of kilometers, their bodies were stained with blood, and their flesh was lacerated. These demonic beasts had been nourished by spiritual energy and miasma. They were too powerful and almost as strong as Foundation establishment cultivators. Moreover, they were highly poisonous. If it weren't for the many protective artifacts that Jiang Tian had given them, they would probably have died long ago. At this moment, 2 demonic beasts were approaching. One of them was more than 2 meters tall, and covered in thick feathers. His arms were between human arms and bird wings. His face was like a cross between a human and a bird. However, he had a long, sharp beak and was shaped like an owl. His eyes were strangely large, but there were no pupils. They were like a pair of dim light bulbs, emitting a dazzling light. The other demonic beast was surrounded by black fog. The demonic fog dispersed, revealing a viper-like face and a 10-meter-long python body covered in dense scales. The golden vertical pupils that had shrunk into a line blinked from time to time. The golden-eyed snake demon sniffed and said with a sharp voice, "Hiss hiss, the tempting smell of human flesh. The other smell is very complicated. Like an animal." "Animal? Little worm, who are you scolding?" The old dragon was furious. He revealed his true form and pushed his 100-meter-long dragon body forward. His dragon claws grabbed at the large snake demon. "Haha, it's actually a flood dragon with hundreds of years of cultivation. If I catch you, it'll be good to be my demon king by Zay's mount." The snake demon's vertical pupils suddenly lit up. His body suddenly enlarged and he opened his bloody mouth to bite at the old dragon. The night owl demon didn't say anything and flew toward Yi Tianren. Still in midair, his wing-like right arm slashed across the air. Many razor-sharp feathers slashed toward Yi Tianren. "Evil creature, die!" Yi Tianren shouted angrily and his broken iron sword shot out like a stream of light. In an instant, the 4 of them collided heavily. Bang bang bang. The collision sounds were like dense raindrops. After a few rounds, swoosh. The old dragon flew dozens of meters away and sank into the mountain wall. He hid inside and screamed in fear, "Mercy! We surrender. We're only here to offer the Star Crown feather armor. Why do you have to kill us?" However, Heavenly Yi did not say a word. He was full of vigor and moved forward courageously. He used his most powerful skills and continued to fight with the 2 demons. These 2 great beasts were both half-human beast cultivators who had formed a fake core. Their bodies were strong and indestructible, and they spat out poisonous fog to create strange sound waves. Unless Yi Tianren gave up half of his cultivation and used the human sword fusion, his chances of winning were slim. Little bug, surrender. How dare the demon cave mountain kill the blue-eyed toad and the others? You'll die even if you give up the treasure. The snake demon had 2 arms. It cackled strangely, and its forked tongue swept toward Celestial Yi to wrap around him. Meanwhile, the night owl soared into the air, its sharp red claws like steel hooks grabbing at Yi Tianren's head. But suddenly, a cold light shot over like a shooting star. And with a swish, it cut off the long tongue, causing blood to spray out. Who's there? A fake core overlord. The two great beasts were immediately alarmed. The snake demon retracted its broken tongue, and immediately shrank its body. It stood up and looked vigilant. But the cold light was too fast. It rolled in the air, and circled around the snake demon's vital point 3 times. Boom. Its huge head rolled on the ground, and its vertical eyes were full of shock. Smelly blood spurted out like a tide more than 10 meters high. The snake body was still twisting crazily, and its tail was like a huge whip, lashing out randomly. Bang! 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 The earth shook and the mountains shook. Sparks splashed everywhere, and the boulders weighing a few thousand kilograms were torn apart and turned into powder. The night owl reacted much faster than the golden-eyed snake demon. Before Jiang Tian's flying sword swept out for the second time, he had already soared into the sky. He and the golden-eyed snake demon were the two top generals under Bai Zai's command. To be honest, even Li Longyuan didn't dare to provoke them easily. But at this moment, the golden-eyed snake demon was at a disadvantage. The one who came must be a super master. Ah! Suddenly, the night owl screamed again. There was a series of clanging sounds, like the continuous vibrations of a pipa or raindrops hitting a banana leaf. The red claws were badly mutilated and white bones were exposed. The night owl was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. His speed was already faster than the speed of sound, but this person's flying sword was even faster than him. Fortunately, he had moved early and his legs were not important. He still had 80% of his combat power, which was enough to tear a Peak Foundation establishment overlord into pieces. But at this moment, pa, a giant net composed of 7th metal true essence fell from the sky. Countless flashing crystal talismans engraved with flashing runes suddenly burst, illuminating the dark jungle as if it was daytime. The night owl's big yellow eyes suddenly seemed to be broken light bulbs, becoming gray and invisible. Chi. One after another, the flying swords arrived. The night owl let out a shrill cry. Although it could not see, it turned into a ghostly stream of light, twisting and turning among the flying swords. It flew higher and higher, displaying a strength that actually surpassed Fang Jingqiang's. Insidious human, don't think that a few small spirit treasure level flying swords can kill me. Even if I can't see anything, I can still feel the murderous aura of the flying sword. You can't hit me. When I recover my vision, I have already torn you to pieces for sure. Before the voice fell. Boom. Several red lightning bolts straight down from the depths of the clouds suddenly deviated from the established trajectory and intertwined into a thunder and lightning net with a radius of 1 kilometer, dazzling and blazing, falling from the sky. The night owl rushed left and right, but he still fell into the thunder net and was electrocuted in an instant. Boom. With a sound, he died, falling to the ground, breaking trees, rolling stones, and shaking mountains. This night owl's cultivation is not bad, especially his strong body. Jiang Tian praised. The red lightning I attracted was 10,000 degrees high, but it didn't burn into ashes. Kong Teichu. Chu Yunxiu was so scared that her face turned pale. She exclaimed and ran away on her flying sword. Want to run? Jiang Tian snorted. His true essence burst out and slapped her to the ground together with her flying sword. Chapter 934. Beside them, Xiao Yingluo also landed and sneered. Hee, this idiot woman has been caught by us again. Hee, you better not provoke me. My master will come and save me soon. Chu Yunxiu snorted proudly. Master, you're finally here. You've bullied us so badly. The old dragon shrank his body to more than a meter long. He crawled out with tears in his eyes and acted pitiful to Jiang Tian. Why are you so cowardly? Why did you let the celestial being fight them alone? Jiang Tian glared at the old dragon. This guy was always afraid of fighting. When he met the weak, he was arrogant and acted like he was the best in the world. When he met the strong, he immediately shrank back and didn't even have the courage to try. Master, aren't you coming soon? In any case, you can slap them to death with a single slap. Why should I be calculative with them? Let's see how long they can be arrogant for. The old dragon frowned and said flatteringly, Besides, if I die in battle, won't you be very sad and distressed? I know that you dote on me the most, master. Dote on you, my ass. Jiang Tian kicked him aside. Master, that set of feather clothes and star crown has been given to Demon King Bai Zhe, Yi Tianren said respectfully. But he's still not satisfied. He wants to make a soul contract with us and turn us into his slaves and mounts. We can only run out. Don't worry, I'll help you vent your anger. Celestial being, heal yourself first. We'll kill them right away. Jiang Tian smiled. I'll make him kneel down and lick your toes. Arrogant. You don't know your place. Chu Yunxiu snorted proudly and wanted to mock Jiang Tian. Bitch, if you didn't sow discord, would we be hunted down? The old dragon turned into a big black dog and jumped up. He beat Chu Yunxiu until she almost fainted. Master, it's okay. It's just a flesh wound. Yi Tianren smiled gratefully. Then he swallowed a few healing pills and sat cross-legged in meditation. Jiang Tian sat cross-legged on a piece of bluestone to protect him. However, the old dragon came back excitedly and asked, Master, do you have a barbecue grill in your gourd? Hungry? That's right. I think this night owl is quite fragrant after being struck by lightning. The old dragon was drooling. You have good taste now. Jiang Tian mocked. It used to be eaten raw, but now there are so many different dishes. There are spicy strips, hot pot, and barbecue. Although he said that, Jiang Tian still took out 3-feet-long special spicy strips from his storage ring, a huge iron pot with a radius of 3 meters, a large pile of charcoal, buckets of all kinds of condiments, a spear-like iron skewer, a huge blade, a huge axe, and other items. Apart from using their demon cores, these demon beasts' flesh and blood also contained abundant spirit energy. They were very beneficial to the old dragon's cultivation. During this time, the old dragon had swallowed the blood essence of many Foundation establishment experts and had already reached the 6th level of Foundation establishment. Speaking of which, his cultivation was even stronger than Yi Tianren's. The old dragon immediately hummed a tune happily and got busy. He skewered the night owl with big iron skewers and roasted it over the charcoal fire. He brushed it with oil, salt, pepper, and cumin. The aroma spread everywhere. Then he skinned the snake demon and cleaned it. Then he chopped it into pieces with a huge axe and cooked it in a big iron pot to make snake soup. Half an hour later, after Yi Tianren finished healing, the old dragon also finished cooking the barbecue and snake soup. The old dragon ate happily. Old dragon, why don't you eat here first? Master and I will go find trouble with that great demon Bai Zhe? Yi Tianren raised his eyebrows and said murderously, Wait a moment. I'm worried about the two of you going in alone. Of course, we have to fight side by side. The old dragon's mouth was full of oil as he shouted, Tisk, you're afraid that you'll be killed by other demon beasts if we leave, right? Yi Tianren laughed. Don't expose me. You're making me very embarrassed. The old dragon ate the bird meat and frowned. Suddenly Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, Heavenly being, don't worry. The Demon King is already here. Master, this person is at least at the nascent soul stage. He's extremely powerful. Yi Tianren's face suddenly turned serious. A golden light shot across the sky like a comet. It was extremely fast, 3 times the speed of sound. That's the great demon Bai Zhe. He has completely transformed into a human. He's indeed extraordinary. Boom. The golden light landed 100 meters away from Jiang Tian and the others. Jiang Tian looked over. The great demon Bai Zhe looked like a 16 or 17-year-old boy. His face was chiseled and his handsome face revealed his resolute personality. His figure was tall and straight, wearing the feather robe and star crown gifted by Jiang Tian, with wide sleeves and a wide belt. His figure fluttered in the wind, looking like a handsome tree in the wind. His otherworldly aura rushed out, as if he was truly a celestial being. The old dragon was shocked and showed a deep fear. He hid the half-eaten bird leg behind his back. Yi Tianren also looked alert and his body was tense. He was secretly accumulating energy, waiting for a moment to start the battle. Chu Yunxiu was immediately revived. She jumped up and ran behind Bai Zhe. She pointed at Jiang Tian and yelled, Kong Teichu, why don't you kneel and beg for mercy when you see our demon king? Jiang Tian didn't bother with her. He smiled and said, My friend, have you eaten? If you haven't, let's eat together. Bai Zai's handsome face was gloomy and his eyes were as sharp as knives. He said coldly, You killed the golden-eyed snake monster and the night owl and ate them. His name is Midnight Snack. Of course I ate it. Otherwise, why would I keep it? Jiang Tian said with a slight sneer. You are Kong Teichu? You also killed my mount, the blue-eyed toad? Bai Zai asked again with a slightly cold face. Yes, it's me. Jiang Tian's face was filled with curiosity as he asked seriously. Is that your mount? It's full of poisonous lumps and stinks. Don't you think it stinks? Weak insect, you are so rude. Bai Zai was so angry that he laughed and said arrogantly, I am Demon King Bai Zai who once controlled the whole heavenly star small world. I am the master of this continent. You lowly creature, how dare you kill this seat's demon general and mount? Could it be that you're not afraid of this seat's thunderous fury? Afraid of you? Jiang Tian wanted to laugh. You should be afraid of me. Bai Zai was so arrogant that he waved his sleeves and said loudly, 1,000 years ago, the master of the heavenly star palace and the masters of thousands of major sects were my servants. Without my enlightenment, they're nothing. 800 years ago, the 3 abbots of the demon-subduing temple were all in the Golden Core realm. They were trampled on the ground by me and called me daddy. My strength is not something you can imagine. You can only submit to me, worship me, and be my servant. Is this your only way to survive? What's the benefit of worshipping you and being your servant? Jiang Tian asked curiously. I heard that you offended the Heavenly Star Palace, several major sects and giant cities, right? You are ambitious. Bai Zai praised first, then he waved his sleeves and said with disdain and arrogance, But lowly ant, you are not smart enough. I see that you are only at the 2nd level of the Foundation establishment realm. The gap in strength is too big. You can't win. In this dangerous world, you can't survive. With his hands behind his back, he was full of arrogance and reprimanded. If you are willing to be my servant, then I will help you destroy the Heavenly Star Palace and kill that little bastard Li Longyuan. I will let you be the master of this world. How about it? That seems good. Jiang Tian said with a half-smile. Bai Zai looked up at the starry sky that was overflowing with spiritual energy, like a teenager. His gaze was sad and deep as he sighed. Don't think that it's a surprise. I don't care about this world. Even the ruins of immortality is just a remote place in my eyes. This world is no longer viable. The ruins of immortality is also no longer viable. It's a pity that the Heavenly Star Palace is still fighting for power. What a joke. I want to find a new place for my people to live, and to find a place where they can reproduce. He was full of ambition and lofty sentiments. My journey is to conquer the sea of stars and the vast universe. As long as you kneel and submit, this vast continent will be handed over to you. I will even give you the ruins of immortality. At least you can still enjoy thousands of years of glory and wealth. What do you think, Kong Teichu? Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and said, Okay, I think you are seriously ill. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. If you are willing to be my servant, I will spare your life. Lowly insect, it seems that you don't know the power of Demon King Bai Zai. I will kill you like slaughtering chickens and dogs to announce to the star world that great Demon King Bai Zai, I am back. Bai Zai was furious. His eyes were full of murderous intent. He rose into the air and grabbed at Jiang Tian. At this moment, a black hole seemed to have appeared in Bai Zai's palm. The huge suction force could devour everything. Even if they were hundreds of meters away, even if the old dragon and Yi Tianren used all their cultivation and many secret techniques, they couldn't bear it and involuntarily flew toward Bai Zai's palm. That huge spiritual power turbulence seemed to want to completely tear Yi Tianren and the old dragon apart. Even Jiang Tian was moved. The strength of this Demon King Bai Zai was really good. He was already in the late stage of Gold Core, and even formed his nascent soul. His spiritual power was surging and vast. It had the power to destroy heaven and earth. With Jiang Tian's strength of the 4th level of foundation establishment, plus the 2 strongest physiques of Gengjin and Xianshui, as well as the many magical powers he had mastered in his 10,000 years of cultivation, it would take a lot of hard work to defeat him. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.